I can pull it. I can pull that original contract up if you would like.
Well, we don't need the second, but I have a hunch that it may have included those terms.
I look for it, sure.
All right, we're all set on YouTube.
We're
Mayor, we're
streaming
all
now.
set, Mayor. Yes, we're all set, Mayor.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody's safe and healthy. This is hopefully going to be the last series of Zoom. I'm hoping to get back to normal by February, but we will keep you posted if there are any changes or if we're going to continue on Zoom in the month of February as well. That said, let's start with the flag, please. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
United States of
and the
America,
republic for which stands
for which stands
under
under God, indivisible.
indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right, so we're going to start the meeting. If you can, please, Abraham, you can start with the old agenda and then we move to the new agenda as well.
Sure. The first item on the agenda is the Building Department December 2021 report. I'm going to share my screen in just a second.
Shit, I don't think I was.
If everyone could please put their microphone on a mute. Here's the report. Mr. Haramis?
Yes, so we received 41 applications. We collected a total of $109,135.11. Building permits that were issued were 87. And I know it says we received 41 applications. With the applications also we received plumbing permits and mechanical permits. So those are part of the permits that were issued. That's why there's 87. We did 99 inspections. We had 25 complaints. We issued 22 violations and we sent out 10 summonses. Also, in the summer, if you remember, we had an amnesty program of $50. 470 letters were sent out advising people to pay $50 to renew their permits. 95 people came forward and renewed those permits for $50. 80 permits were closed out. Out of the 95, there's about 15 remaining open out of the 95, which we're waiting for either electrical underwriters or some form of paperwork, could be a final survey or something like that. The program, as you know, ended at the end of the year. I don't know if the mayor and board wants to continue it for another few months or close it out and just let the people pay the 50% of the original fee.
So I think this was a success and I think many people have come forward and I think it's the right thing to do. Many people did not know that they have these violations or pending permit closures. So I think it's the right thing to do. I would propose for another 6 months if the board agrees.
I concur with that, Mayor. I hope the board votes on that and approves that so we can close out all these older permits and move forward with the building department.
Peter, do we need to vote on that or you can just do a continuation of what it was?
Peter, you're on mute, Peter.
You're on mute.
Might as well vote.
Yes, you would have a vote to continue that program.
So I would like to move another 6 months of
Amnesty.
for people who have not applied and completed their permits to complete their permits.
We're going to issue a new newsletter that should go in there.
Yes.
Okay, does anybody second that motion?
Okay.
So, All in agreement?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board.
The next item is the December 20. I'm just going to pull it up on my screen. Mr. Massaro,
I have nothing really to add to it. This time of year, I usually do all my totals for the year end, and then I give you a snapshot of what was last year, so you could see that for the most part, everything stays just about equal. Not much change from year to year.
And we continue the tradition of having snowstorms on weekends and holidays.
Well, you're always gonna have overtime during the snowstorm because you're only working 8 hours on a regular day, and
I'm kidding.
yeah,
It is unbelievable though, right?
yeah, you're only gonna get 125% of the day that it's gonna snow during those hours.
That's true.
if there's no question, we can move on to the next item.
Okay.
The next item in the request for a special use permit at the property located at 61 Steamboat Road. You'll see the application in front of you. And here is the plans that they have submitted recently to the village, as well as a engineer letter that was attached to that plan. I believe the applicant is on the meeting as well.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Ivan Kon. So just wanted to get permission to use the that site as for a small high school, which we want to open to service Great Neck. We're gonna be there very small, looking to move sometime soon, but that's what we wanted the application for.
Mayor, it is my recollection that this application did come before the board on a prior occasion. There were several concerns at that time. I think, as I recall, there was concern expressed about whether or not a minibus would be able to make the turn. That was one issue. And secondly, the question was raised that had the applicant yet received permission from the state education department to operate as a school. And then a third point that was mentioned was that it might be necessary for construction or for the maintenance of the building, that the applicant may need some variances from the zoning board of appeals. I would the applicant care to address each of those three topics?
Yes, thank you, Peter. So in terms of the minibus, on one of those was a letter we got from Schneider Engineering that they designed a front driveway. If you see number 1, proposed site plans will work for a minibus. This circular driveway, which they have designed, will work for a minibus. They signed off, and we don't need to increase the curb cuts. So the curb cuts as is now, we can create this driveway, and the minibuses will be able to pull in, drop off, and pull out.
And with respect to the issue of the state education department authorization for you to operate as a school?
So address, Ray Hoffman was a partner with me in this endeavor. Pirate Hoffman will address that.
Okay.
Hi,
And
good
then the
evening.
third- I'm sorry.
So in
the
order to
third-
be registered as an official school, that doesn't happen until the 4th year of existence. I participated in a meeting last week with other school principals of new schools that are developing. We are following all the steps necessary. Our students will be taking Regents examinations. We'll be doing all the necessary steps. We'll be filing all the necessary paperwork, starting with getting a beds number, making sure that we have a proper facility, doing all the educational things required. But the actual, what's called registration of a high school comes at the end of the 4th year. as we start to build an application and build a file. So we're doing everything we need to do, but you can't be officially registered until you've shown for 4 years that you've been in business and that you're doing everything that you need to do.
Well, I want the applicant to be clear that should the board grant the use permit, assuming that that could happen, that's not authorization to operate as a school from the state of New York. That's a
Correct,
statement by the board that that's a permitted use if you can get all of the other necessary permissions that you need to have.
correct, right,
Okay.
acknowledged. yeah.
Correct. And we would be permitted to then, with your permission, to use the building for this purpose. And then we would have to work toward a formal recognition by the state of New York, but that takes 4 years by definition. No new school can receive full authorization and registration for at least 4 years. That's the way it works.
But
And
I
isn't
don't
there
know
a
if we
temp-
could, but council, I don't know if we could give them, we can't give them approval to use the site as a school, correct? Because of the zoning?
Well, that'll be my third point, but I was just saying that the special use permit to operate as a school is not the equivalent of state of New York saying, okay, you are lawfully operating a school. They would still need
Right.
to have whatever permissions a school is required to have. One of those permissions is the use permission from the local municipality. That's us. But it is not the only permission that a school would need to have.
Correct,
And the third point that I was making was that there may be reasons why you still need to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, for example, and I have not done an exhaustive zoning analysis, but it would appear that in this residence district, assuming you got the special permit, you still would be occupying a lot that is less than 5 acres and has a street frontage of less than 200 feet. So you may have that and or other things for which you need to go to the zoning board.
correct. No, thank you for clarifying. So the third, yeah, the next step would be to proceed to the zoning board to get the needed variances. We were asking for just the permission, pending approval of the zoning board, obviously. Correct.
Thank you. Mayor?
Yeah, so I think that said, obviously we would like to create a safe environment for the entire neighborhood. I do like the fact that they now have the circular driver that hopefully is going to significantly reduce possible traffic. I know that the number of students, based on what I was told, is about 30 students total. I don't know how many minibuses they're going to have and how many people are going to actually drive, but they do have, from what I see. Can you bring the site plan one more time? I think the drop-offs can be done in the back of the building. The minibuses drop off in the front of the building. I think based on the number of the students, I don't think it's going to cause significant traffic. As far as the zoning part, obviously it has to go to the zoning board for them to give any variances necessary, but the use permit, it's already a lot that is off the tax roll. I would rather use this than any other location. So that's my 2 cents. Any other comments from the member of the boards?
I just have a small issue, not issue, a question about the fire department. The fire department needs to approve on the safety of the building and the ability of the fire department to be able to get to the back of the building with a truck, but I'm not sure about that. That's something I think the rabbi should look into it and make sure that from safety reasons that they can have a school that when the fire department will allow it to go through.
Well, there's an overhang on the driveway that would prevent a fire apparatus from going to the back of the building.
I think the code, they usually want about 60 feet. I don't know if the truck has to really get back to the building because it's not a very large building, but I think
Also
those
one level.
analysis. Sorry?
It's also only 1 floor.
Right. So I think those are the analysis that will be done by the zoning board as well. I don't think it should be an issue because it's not a very large building. It doesn't have a huge frontage. It's not deep. And it's only 1 floor. So I don't believe that fire department would have an issue with it. But obviously those are the things that the Board of Zoning will also address during their analysis.
Okay.
Peter?
At this point, you may wish to consider a resolution granting the special permit. The board will recall that you have the power to insist upon any reasonable conditions that you deem are related to this particular property. But a resolution could be drafted at this point in time, granting the special permit with or without additional conditions. I assume that the building department and the clerk have the other documents that are required for the board to obtain a special, for the applicant to obtain a special use permit. There were certain insurances and other documents that the code requires to be delivered.
I believe we have all that.
Very good. Then with that qualifier, does any board member wish to suggest any special condition to impose on the use permit, the special use permit? If not, then it could be just a motion to approve the application for a conditional or special use permit to operate as a school, subject to the applicant getting all other necessary approvals from any other agencies that are required to operate as a school, and subject to the zoning board of appeals granting the variances that would be necessary for the building to occupy the lot. Is there a motion to that effect?
One question I had actually, if you're saying that that you're going to get your final approval in 4 years, based on your initial presentation, you probably won't even be here, but you can take that 4 years from the moment you start the school, even if you're going to move to a different location?
Yeah, you could start the clock as soon as you have a beds number, which is as soon as you're in an approved location. Subsequently move to a different location, so that also has to be an approved location with proper, with a CFO for a school as well, an educational facility as well. But the 4 years need to be 4 years in a location that's approved. So it could switch in the middle, but wherever you were has to have been, you have to receive the beds number to get that process started. So yeah, very likely will not be there in 4 years, but to get year one on the clock, we need to apply for a beds number. We need to be in an educational facility.
Okay. Anybody from the member of the board has any questions, or we can go ahead with the motion?
I don't have any questions. I think the zoning board is going to have a lot more of that. So.
But this is just us changing the, giving the use permit. The zoning is going to do whatever they need to do.
Right.
One other thing I think was also the architectural review that was taken over last time as well, I believe.
Do we have any architectural design?
I did not see anything for the facade or anything like that. There is a site plan and there is a floor plan, but I did not see anything for the facade of the building.
Okay, so I think got lost. December time was a lot. Okay, so we'll just do what we have for now then.
Is there a motion to approve the special use permit without conditions other than the ZBA grants any necessary variances and any other entity that has jurisdiction to approve or disapprove a school gives its permission? And the applicant understands he still has to come back for architectural approval.
The
Is there a
architectural.
motion to that effect?
So this is just for,
Application,
Special use permit.
special use permit. Good. I'll move it.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? The motion passes unanimously.
The next item on the agenda under the old business is a request to install a stop sign at the corner of Strathmore Road and Old Pond Road. If you remember last time, this was brought in front of the board, and the mayor mentioned that we should reach out to the Strathmore Civic Association. Brian emailed them, and they are for installing a stop sign at that corner. I'm going to pull up the picture of that intersection shortly. As you could see, this is Old Mill Road in the back of this street. We are on Strathmore here, and the request to install a stop sign are at this corner on the right side of your screen, and as well as the left side of your screen where I'm pointing at right now. So this would make the intersection always stop.
I have driven in that area many times. I think what happens, and I think the concern is people that are coming in from Old Mill Road, they just zip through that area. And I think they, obviously, because there's no stop sign, this area apparently is becoming a little bit dangerous because also there's no sidewalks. I personally am okay with putting a stop sign here. Maybe 50 years ago, 20 years ago, we didn't need the stop sign, but with the drivers and the way people are driving now and being distracted, I think stop sign here would probably increase the safety. I know we did not have, thank God, any accidents or as far as I know, close calls, but if the people in that area are asking for one, I personally don't have an issue with it. Bart, Annie, Steve, Ellie?
I have no issue with that. I think it's a smart thing to do.
Did anybody get back to you from the Civic Association?
Yeah, they said they want it.
Oh, they did. Okay. I'm fine with it also. I mean, I think it'll add to the safety in the corner.
Okay. Anyone's going to make a motion?
I'll make a- oh, okay.
I'll move it.
Moved by Annie, seconded by
Steve.
Steve. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition? I didn't hear anyone. So, okay, approved.
The next item under the new business is a sign request, a sign application for a new store located at 105 Steamboat Road. I believe the applicant is on the meeting. If you could please unmute yourself.
Here. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Patel. Mayor, I'm going to pull up the sign in just a second. Here's the sign. It's a 8 feet by 2.4 feet. A clear rendering of it you could see right here.
Is it black and white? That's the color?
It's a black and a silverish. Silverish is the text.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So black is the background. So it's the exact same size that was approved by the Board of Trustees for the barber shop right next to it. So I just made it very similar to it, just the text is changed, same size.
Do you have the rendering of the, I know that there's a barber shop there, I think
Mr. Scissors.
a bakery, and then this. Could you just show the three of them next to one another?
Well, I don't have the updated picture. I just have the street view of it. This is a street view. I believe the barbershop is the one on the left.
The barber shop is in the middle.
Middle.
Up is in the middle. The future to be bakery is on the right side. So the convenience store will be here. I do not have, this is the latest pictures that we have back in November of 2020.
I didn't know that convenience store is even a permitted use in that area.
Why not?
I didn't know it was. I haven't seen one there for ages, and I thought that they changed the code.
So
That is-
that was, apparently the store was renovated, and in the notes in Municity, it says it's grandfathered in for retail use.
Uh-huh, okay. Okay. And it's.
I'm
what
told
kind
it's
of- Are you
I'm
also
being
selling?
told it's
alcohol?
deli.
Sorry?
I'm being told that it's a deli, but I don't know. I haven't been in there.
We can ask this gentleman, Mr. Patel, is it a deli or is it a convenience store?
It's a convenience store with a small deli, yes. We just have like just a very small machine with a deli, yeah.
Small machine?
Just a
You
small
also-
slice, a cold sandwich, just make the cold sandwich on the with the meat slice.
Okay, until what time are you open at night?
We open around 7:30 in the morning and close around 9:30 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay, and you sell alcohol as well?
We have a beer, yes, we do have a license for the beer.
Okay.
Do you have any other stores in town?
Yes,
Twig.
we have another store, Twigs Convenience.
You have Twigs, okay. And are you
Just
gonna
the-
also, are you also gonna be selling paraphernalia in there? In
No,
this
we
place?
don't have it. No, we don't have it. We only have just cigarettes and electronic cigarettes.
Okay.
This is the sign next door on the barber shop.
Right.
I think it's nice that the signs are actually similar.
Matching, yeah.
And I'm assuming that the bakery is probably gonna have a similar sign. At least
Mr. Patel, which one do you prefer?
I mean, I don't know. Could be, I don't know. My son likes the second option too.
Okay.
Can you
Yeah.
show the this Mr. Scissors one more time?
Lines.
Yes.
Mr.
It's also
Sisson-
two lines.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think the second one looks better
So
also.
it should be 2 lines. I think it makes more sense.
I like to.
um, just one moment. I just want to cut the other picture and you could see it side by side. Oh, sorry. This is next door and this is the new sign, which has 2 lines. The first line is a larger font than the second line, so it might be actually, as Mr. Patel said, and the member of the board said, it might make sense to have it actually the option number 2.
Right. I think it sounds like everybody's in favor of number 2, including the applicant, so why not give it to him?
Right. I mean, yes, that's fine.
Is there a motion to approve the sign as?
I'll move it.
It's moved.
Second,
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
aye.
It's unanimous. The next item on the agenda is a presentation for a project and 112.
One
Steamboat-
second. Good luck, Mr. Patel.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate your help, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe the applicant, council, as well as architects are in the meeting.
That is correct. It's Steve Schlesinger. I'm counsel. And this is a 3-part project. It's 2 parts townhouses and 1 part a synagogue that exists but will be rebuilt and redone in a more elaborate thing. We have gone to great lengths to acquire what had been the taxi cab stand at the corner of Wood and Steamboat to expand the property. Right now, the property is bordered by Steamboat, Wood, Florence, and the park. So there are no immediate adjacent things. The synagogue will be on the front of the property on the Steamboat Road side, and then the townhouses will be on the back piece between the synagogue and the park, as well as 5 townhouses on the north side of Steamboat, directly opposite the synagogue. The north side, if the board recalls, there was a fire and it destroyed what was a multifamily dwelling. So essentially, we're recreating the same number of units, but in a townhouse type configuration. So whether you.
So what's to become of that property? To the
Excuse me?
north? What's to become of the property at the north?
That's to be 5 townhouse-like property, 5 townhouse-like units.
In addition to the 4 townhouse units?
No. No, in the back part of the property, there will be multiple townhouse units. I believe it's 14.
We're talking about 112, right?
112 will have 14, I believe, and the north side will have 5. 113.
14 townhouse units?
Yes.
So I think you're only presenting 112, not 113. Isn't that correct?
I think my personal opinion is while they're separate applications, they should really be considered together. They'll look, the architecture is going to be the same. And I don't believe necessarily any special permits are needed for 113 because it's really just a reconfiguration of the multifamily design that was there and is grandfathered.
Is it, even though the building's destroyed?
I mean, I
Yes.
think because they started the development and they applied for rebuilding it as is. I think they came to our board. They were able to maintain their grandfathering, but that's something that we need to discuss. I didn't know, I was under the impression that this is, I mean, anyway, you're not seeking any sort of approval at this time from the board. I think the whole presentation is to get what the project looks like and an introduction to the community what it's going to be. So I think with that said,
I would ask Mark Stumer's office to put up, share a screen and show what it'll look like.
okay.
All right, I can do that. Hi, this is Joe Iacobellis with Mojo Stumer Associates. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us tonight. Thank you for your time. I will share my screen, and if you can let me know if that's successful, once you can all see it, I'll go ahead and proceed. Right now, it's saying that it's disabled, so I think I have to be allowed.
Joe, is it what you sent in this morning in the office?
Well, I was going to pull up the 4 renderings of the proposed temple. So if you have those and you want to share them on your side, that would be fine.
No, I did not receive any rendering. There was a small, Brian, how was it? It was a CD that was dropped off this morning?
Yeah, we got a flash drive just with
Flash
the,
drive this morning.
some
There was 2
construction
files
drawing.
on it. Those 2 I can pull up and share with the board, but the rendering of the building was not as part of those thumb drive that was dropped off.
Is
If
it
you have-
possible? Is it
try to
possible
share-
for you to give me the ability to share my screen, and I could show
Yeah,
it from my
Try
side?
sharing now, Joe.
Sure. That still says host disabled, participant screen sharing.
Go
Hold
for it
on.
now. Go for it now.
There we go. Perfect. Okay, so can everybody see the screen now?
It's coming up.
Okay. Actually, in fact, if you bear with me for 1 second, I'm gonna share it a different way because I'd like to walk everybody through not just the renderings, but I want to show you our site plan and how the building looks on its site, what the planning concepts are, and how everything is coming together currently. So bear with me 1 more second. Okay, you can see now, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So before I get into the concept of what the exterior of the building looks like, I do just want to show everybody, and here again, I apologize. I'm just trying to pull up the right files. We have a couple rounds of this now. From a site planning perspective, I want to walk you through the concept of everything we're doing here and why the building looks like what it does and how we've gotten to this point. But first, I just wanted to kind of introduce big picture what we're doing. If you don't know or hang with the congregation, they've been a member in good standing in this community for over 26 years. The congregation was started by the current rabbi's wife's father. They're Great Neck residents. They're local to this village, and this is where their roots are. In the 2 decades plus since, this community has grown, and they have an international presence in Russia, Argentina, Mexico, Israel, Toronto, and they really have a growing global presence, and they're a great organization. And the goal right here with this project is to give them a true home in their original home of Great Neck. If you've seen the facilities that they work out of now, they're looking obviously to upgrade and to build a really beautiful and a respectable site that they can call home, and that they can continue with their mission and their religious mission that they handle here. And so they came to Mojo Stumer looking for not only a beautiful building, but a timeless building. They obviously, you guys know our work, and you know that we're modernists at heart, and our buildings tend to be very modern, but also we strive for our work to be very beautiful and carefully integrated into the community and into the fabric of each neighborhood where we do our work. And I think what we'll show you tonight checks all those boxes and hopefully gives them the opportunity to have this beautiful new facility. And the one other thing I would mention is this really isn't just a religious facility. At the heart of the mission of Or Hamath is education. You will notice there are classrooms built into this facility that are kind of accessory use to the religious facility, but they really do have an education forward mission, and that's a lot of kind of what's gone into this building. So I'll proceed with that. What you're looking at on this screen is our site plan, and you have Steamboat Road running roughly west to east along here. And as our attorney explained earlier, we're between Wood and Florence Roads. This right here, where you see proposed 2-story building, this is the proposed new temple facility. And there's a few things I'll call out. And in fact, I'm going to draw on the screen, which you should be able to see as I do it. This is our proposed 2-story temple building. And back here to the rear of that are the 14 townhouses that Mr. Schlesinger was just explaining. Speaking strictly to the temple, first and foremost, there's an interesting siting here, and there are a lot of great opportunities in how we position the building. This building, interestingly, because the property is taking up the full block and it's got Wood to the one side and Florence to the other, there's a really great opportunity for exposure here where usually we wouldn't have that. So we were able to shift the building to the west, in this case, closer to Florence, while maintaining the setbacks on the side. But what that does is give us the ability to create as large of a parking area as we possibly can to get as many parking spaces into this facility as we can, but also to create a really beautiful facade that isn't just the front of this building, but really a continuous wrapping of the front along the side and to what would be the rear of this building. So many buildings that are presented, I'm sure, in front of this board just have a nice front and mediocre sides and a forgotten about back. What we love about this building and the way it's sited and the way the architecture has been planned is that there really is no strict front. All 3 sides that I'm outlining here are looking out towards the community. They're very visible from Steamboat Road. And we think that the architecture plan for this building is wholly appropriate for this area and this neighborhood with the number of similar facilities on the road, but it's really got a beautiful presence. It's set back from the main corner. By obtaining the taxi lot, like Mr. Schlesinger explained, we're able to achieve that. But it really lets this building sort of be on display in a very beautiful way. It's not oversized, it's just 2 stories. As I'll show you, there's a lot of massaging and detail that went into the architecture. I've told you this before, but I'll get into it again. And as I walk you through the renderings of how our architecture tends to be broken down into multiple parts and be very expressive of massing and form. So you're not looking at a big oversized building. As you'll see, it really is a beautiful compilation of the facade elements, but the siding overall lets it be visible from all of these roads in a really appropriate way. It's not too close or too far back from the road in any way. But generally, people enter and exit the site along here off of Steamboat. There's a circular drive aisle, so there's no concern for people getting stuck or backing up for the most part. we fit as many parking stalls as we can in here to service the building. And as you'll see with our submission, there were parking calculations and responses to the village's questions about how the parking is being handled. And we also do have on tonight our civil engineer and also Mike Doyle from our office is a senior associate and project manager for this job. He's available to speak to any specific questions that we get into about some of those earlier village comments. But so when you get into the building, this is just our site plan here. When you get into the building, just from a programmatic standpoint, this is a building that is really attempting to house all of the program that this community really needs to make use of for their observation and their religious function in the village here. What you're looking at here is the first floor. And so this view is rotated 90 degrees from where we were looking earlier, just so there's no confusion. Steamboat is over here and cars entering the site will drive along this way. As I was explaining before, what looks to be the front of the building along Steamboat really is not a point of any major access. Rather, it's just a beautiful frontage for the building. All pedestrian access into the building would either come from the side elevation here or from the rear here. So people parking either in the side lot or in the rear lot would make their way into the building in these two directions. And the building in general, we think, has a nice and open flow. As you come into this, which is probably the more used entrance, there's a grand entrance lobby with a nice staircase that takes you up. The shul is off to the side with adequate seating to facilitate this congregation. And there's a mezzanine upstairs in the second floor to provide a little bit of additional seating. There are additional classrooms on this first floor, along with bathrooms and the rabbi's office. And what you'll see out here, which we think is an interesting and an important part of this concept, and as I show you the renderings in a moment, it'll make a little more sense. We wanted to still carve out a place because there will be children in this facility and there will be that educational component. We wanted to carve out a space where children could get some outdoor time and still be safe and protected and kind of safe within the bounds and the grounds of the property here. As you can see from the site plan, everything that's not part of the building footprint to the east and the south is really used for parking and vehicular access. So we're able to set the building back from Steamboat and we're carving in a bit of the feeling of a courtyard. It's really achieved by having a sign that runs along the edge of the road, although a couple of feet high like a knee wall. And it lets us put in a planted berm. And what that does is achieve a few things. One is it gives us a semi-protected area in here for children to basically play and get some outdoor time and not be immediately exposed to the road, not to wander into the street. And it has a way of keeping the kids safely within the grounds. It also has the effect, as you'll see in the renderings, of kind of scaling down the building a little bit by putting the smaller element in front of it and masking some of the base of the building. It does actually have the impact of making the building seem a little bit smaller than it is, which we think is a positive. In all of our work, we're always very sensitive to the scale of our buildings and how large they look. So that will make more sense in a moment when I pull up the renderings. But I will keep flipping forward here and walk you through the second floor plan. It's a similar program. As I mentioned, there's the mezzanine, which connects back to the staircase. There's some coat storage, some bathrooms, and those additional classroom spaces. There's a good amount of open to below space. So from a square footage standpoint, the building really isn't as big as it looks because we have an open to below area, double height here in the shul, as well as here overlooking one of those classrooms. So the footprint speaks a little bit louder than the footage is actually occupied inside. And then on the lower level, if you go downstairs, you'll see there's a men's mikveh on one story. There's actually two stories of basement here. There's a cellar and there's a subcellar. So on the first cellar, there's a men's mikveh with a waiting room and some additional bathrooms, and then storage and mechanical space, which will be just needed for utility purposes. And then on the sub-cellar below that, there's a multi-purpose room, which is going to be intended for, gatherings after a service or, secondary gatherings that would happen either before or after a service. We're really not ever parallel or concurrent with one. But otherwise, there's a small roof deck component, but that would be really a passive use for, small gatherings or outdoor air. It's not intended for any active use on the roof. And besides that, I will walk you through the renderings, which I think are the more exciting part of this whole process. So can everyone see the rendering now? I just pulled up a new screen.
Yes.
Okay, so what you're looking at here is the facade. I'll call it the front facade. This is the element that's facing Steamboat Road. So this is what you'd be driving by if you're heading east to west along Steamboat. Like I mentioned, there's no entrance here. You're not entering through this part of the building. That's on the side and the rear of the building. But right away, and just looking at the concept here, there's a lot I can talk about and a lot of detail I can go into. I'll try to keep it brief. But like I explained, in all of our architecture, we try to be very careful in how we massage a building's form to fit its surroundings and to fit the neighborhood fabric that it's in. What we don't want to do is just put up a big flat wall on this facade, even though the main entrance is at the rear and to the side, and this could be a forgotten about facade. We wanted to treat this with as much care and detail as we did every other element of the building. And what you'll see is a design here for this exterior it's got a lot of depth, it's got a lot of vibrancy. There's a various use of materials, and there's an interesting play in the roof. And all of that is done for the specific reason of trying to, like I said earlier, break this facade into multiple parts and not have this look like one big expansive wall that's overshadowing the community. Rather, it's a really beautiful composition of these multiple components. The majority of the facade is made up of limestone panels, which you can see, hang on, I will draw. You can see limestone panels back here and along here. And then as an accent to that panel and in contrast, we're actually introducing a good amount of a larger format textured Jerusalem limestone, or some sort of a heavily worked, really beautifully textured, natural looking stone that would be a contrast to the smoother square panels that you see on these sides. So we're obviously trying to express the elements of durability and longevity and permanence for this institution and really express that in the architecture. And we think this does it appropriately, but we're also trying to keep it from looking too heavy. So by contrasting all of this heavy stone with a large expanse of glass with these really beautiful, delicate slats that float over it, and then capping the whole thing with this very lightly framed roof element, which floats out from both sides and out forward, we're trying to achieve a really careful balance of those heavier masonry kind of permanence feeling elements with the lighter elements of the glass and the slats and that light roof. Also, as I mentioned before, this is that knee wall type element. We've incorporated a bench and some planches into it, again, so it doesn't look too big or too obtrusive, but it does give us the benefit, of making the building, like I said, look a little bit smaller than maybe it really is by cutting off the sight line to the base of the building where it meets the ground, but also creating a semi-captive area inside where children could use this as a small courtyard and be protected from the traffic. Moving along, so now this is the side elevation, and you can kind of see what we were just looking at was the front elevation. To the right side of this screen is the elevation that we were just looking at on Steamboats. Now, if you were heading west along Steamboat, this is the elevation that you would really see along across the parking lot. This is the entry drive into the property where visitors would drive in. And just like I explained on the front elevation, there's a lot of texture. There's a lot of very purposeful and very carefully detailed architectural design here in trying to come up with a composition that is both kind of heavy and permanent and delicate at the same time. And you'll see that being done by this combination of heavier stone and masonry elements paired with these large expanses of glass. You will notice that the shul is kind of highlighted and expressed through the building here. The element of the stained glass panels on either side with this large panel with the inscriptions on this elements of brass colored aluminum here. So the building is very expressive from the outside of what's going on along the inside. But again, we're carrying across some of these very thin roof elements from right to left here to express that horizontality and break the height up into multiple pieces and really stretch the building out. Again, all in an effort to keep it from looking too big and too tall. But again, you'll see a very similar material palette along here and that careful balance of glass and stone. Moving around the corner from there. So this is really the rear elevation. It functions a lot like the front elevation because this is where most people would be entering from. So if you were to enter into the site, you drive around the back of the building. From the parking lot, you would come into here directly. There's a little bit of a softer touch here. There's a more kind of a monolithic design. There's large elements of the limestone paneling. The shul is actually behind this area here, down below with the mezzanine above. We've incorporated a really beautiful use of channel glass, which is a naturally opaque glass material that would let light and shadow through, but still maintain privacy and closure within that space. But it's a nice way for us to open this facade up a little bit where we can't otherwise use normal glass. The main entrance is highlighted by this portal here with this frame of stone, and again, an introduction of some channel glass that lets some of that light and shadow through and opens up from being just a strictly stone facade. And then in a really interesting detail, one of the things we like a lot about this, there's a dish mikveh behind this panel here that the community would be able to use from this congregation. And, working with the requirements of Or Hamath and what they had to maintain in order to follow the religious requirements, they'd actually be collecting roof water off of the top of the building here through a stone trough so that the water doesn't touch metal, comes down here into this dishwashing facility. And we were really excited to be able to incorporate that really interesting element directly into the architecture. And you don't really see it. It doesn't call out to you. It's not like just a sink on the side of the building. It's this really beautiful element that gets worked into the design overall. And we think it's actually a positive element here. Really helps the design. What you're seeing to the right here, this is the staircase that takes you as an exterior entrance to the men's mikveh downstairs. There are multiple means of ingress and egress from the building. It kind of meets and exceeds building code. We have a number of ways out. For an assembly building like this, we think that's appropriate. Make sure it meets all life safety requirements. And then lastly, before I hand this over to Steve again to get back to the important stuff, on the west facade, now this is facing Florence, a similar treatment. We have a really beautiful large expanse of glass opening the classroom space to bring a lot of light in, to really let there be an open and airy space for the children. The introduction of the slats that kind of help control some of the sun and a little bit of privacy also adds that layer of delicacy. And then again, a combination, we think a really beautiful combination of a heavily textured limestone against a smooth limestone. There's a nice pairing there in how the texture of those materials look. And a touch of that opaque, semi-translucent glass material that brings some more light into the space. But all in all, we're happy to hear your feedback and hear your thoughts from the Board of Trustees here on this building. We're very excited by it. We think it's a great addition to the community. Like I said, Mike Doyle from our office, the senior associate in charge of this project, he can answer any specifics about the numbers and the filing process. And Steve and the civil engineer are here as well if we want to go into any detail about other questions that the board may have.
Actually, before you leave this property, why don't we go and do the townhouses as well? And show the townhouses to the board.
Okay. If just give me a minute for that. I was actually under the impression we weren't discussing that tonight, but bear with me a second. We'll pull it up.
Mayor, do you want to do that, Mayor?
I mean, if they're giving just a presentation, I don't mind looking at the presentation.
Okay.
I'm sure they understand that there's no, I don't think we are in a point to be able to give any kind of approvals, but I wouldn't mind looking at their presentation.
We're not seeking any approvals tonight. We know, first of all, you have to send the application to the county and, wait your 30 days.
It's an interesting, first of all, I wanted to again congratulate Mojo Stumer and this another beautiful design for this place. I think it definitely adds to the beauty of Steamboat Road, and kudos to you guys again.
Thank you, Mayor.
Was how many units are currently in the back of this temple, and how many you're adding? You're going to have a total of 14. On your proposal, how many units are there currently?
There are 4 houses. I believe one of them is a 2-family house, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe someone from Mark's office can put that out, but I think there are 4 homes there.
We have 5 houses now in the back, and the taxi is there that is going.
So there are 5 houses, 5 units, you mean?
5 houses that will be knocked down, yeah.
So there are 5 houses.
Besides for 112, there is 112A, 112B, 48 Wood, 50 Wood, 52 Wood, and the taxi.
Okay, all right. So you're going to get rid of 5 units.
Well, 7 units, because it's 112, 112A, 112B.
I thought 112 is the temple, no?
Right. I'm saying structures. How many
No,
structures?
I'm talking about the units. How many
Dwelling?
residential?
Yes, 5.
5 residential, and then it's going, so it's an addition of 9. Okay.
As well as the taxi office.
Right.
Okay, right, the taxi, it's going to be gone. Okay, that's fine. So let's see the design of the these 14 townhouses.
Okay. I just shared my screen again. If you can let me know once you can see it, I'll go ahead.
We see it.
Okay, so this part's a little bit easier. I can be shorter and keep this a little bit more brief, so you don't have to listen to me run on about the architecture. What you're looking at here, we just walked through the temple building up here to the north. The 14 townhouse units exist down here adjacent to the park. It's basically access off of Wood Road. There's a 2-way drive aisle. All of the townhouses have parking. There's a garage and a driveway spot for each stall. From a planning standpoint, we're maintaining the adequate backup aisles that we need and the turnaround space. And it really is, it's a nice semi-enclosed feeling community due to the nature of how these buildings are aligned across the street from one another, but with ample room to facilitate and move in and out. So that the site plan tells you that much, but from an architectural standpoint, I just pulled up a new image, and if you could confirm you can all see it before I start going.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so what you're looking at is basically one of the blocks of which we have kind of multiple iterations throughout this site. So this is an example of a 3-piece portion of the townhouses where it was basically designed sort of in a modular stance where this, what you're looking at, and I will draw on my screen again for a moment. What you're looking at basically from here to here is the extent of one unit. And throughout the property, there's a variation of units being stacked adjacent or mirrored from one another that helps us kind of maintain a little variation and keep it from looking too repetitive over and over. And you can kind of see that expressed here, where here's an example of 2 units that are kind of just adjacent to one another, one after the other. Whereas if you look at these 2 units to the right of one another, they're mirrored about that center point. So you get a much different architecture of the 2 kind of, split from one another rather than repeating. Architecturally, we wanted to keep this palette simple. It wanted to be youthful and modern and clean, but still also very functional. There's just a combination of a white cladding material and composite looking wood. So that would be 0 maintenance. There's no decay or rot in any of these materials. It'll all be artificial materials, but we did want to introduce an element of wood that just gives it a little bit more of a warmth and a residential feel. There are large windows, there's a recessed balcony here, and the garage is kind of tucked below with a small balcony that kicks out of it that helps keep it a little bit recessed from the house, so you're not looking at it. But all in all, we like the approach here is a very simple, easily repeatable, we think feasibly constructible architectural concept for this community. And by, like I mentioned, playing with the repetition and whether you mirror them or repeat them over and over, it lets us take this one modular concept, use it throughout the property with minor variations, and you end up getting a really beautiful kind of semi-repeatable architecture with a hint of that modularity. But strictly speaking, when you look at these individually, there's just a nice pairing of this very simple white tone, large glass, and a really beautiful wood-looking material. Cap of the little canopy over the top is a nice modern touch and opportunity for some beautiful plantings and some site work.
I think at this point, we should take any questions the board has.
So each unit gets 1 parking spot?
Also, each unit has a garage plus the driveway spot. So the ability to house 2 cars per unit.
2 cars per unit, okay.
Will these be rentals?
I don't know if a decision has yet been made as to how they'll ultimately be sold or rented or some configuration of both. I believe they may have 1 or 2 that'll be reserved for the rabbis that teach there.
Actually, right now, the plan is that they should all be for the teachers, since the Or HaEmet is educational institution and we have many people teaching, people could come to the kollel and say, can you please give me someone to learn with once a week or 3 times a week? I want to come for 1 hour to learn Talmud. I never got a chance to. I'm already 50 years old. I never got a chance to. I want to learn. And the kollel will give a personal teacher to a person if they want teachers for adults, for teenagers, any age. So we do have a lot of teachers. And this house is right now, the plan is to be where the rabbis live.
And you have the 113 also, right?
One
We
second,
have,
before we leave this,
yes,
I don't remember which drawing it was on, but one of the hold on one second. One of the architect's drawings on the townhouses indicated a ladies' mikveh in one of the units. Is that proposed?
no, we don't have that.
If you go back to what was shown before, it was there. I'm just,
I thought it was in 112.
no, right there. See the bottom?
Right, right
Proposed ladies' mikveh at the
down
bottom.
here, right. Mhm.
No, right now, we don't have, no, it's not in any plans.
Yeah, that might have been an earlier note from an earlier concept that perhaps shouldn't have been carried through, but no, we can proceed with the assumption that it won't be included.
Joe, you're gonna put railings on those steps, right?
Do you have a rendering of the rear elevation of the townhouses or not yet?
We have architectural drawings of all of them, not renderings, but I believe the drawings that were submitted included elevations all around. And Steve, yes, we will have railings. If you look closely, there's the hint of a glass railing here, but of course it will be meeting code in every way it needs to.
How many parking spots are there in the side near
Synagogue? It's 44.
44 altogether? That's between the synagogue and Wood
No,
Road?
Joe, if you go back to this picture of the synagogue.
There are 44 parking stalls as a part of the northerly portion of the lot here.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
And there are 28 for the townhouses.
So 2 for each town.
I believe there is also a couple for guests. By the
Right,
town.
there's an additional 4 here that you can see.
An additional 4.
Okay, are we presenting 113 also, the concept?
Sure.
No, to be honest, we didn't think that was planning on being a part of the concept tonight, so I didn't have anything prepared to pull up at the moment.
I didn't think that it's going to be, but based on what Mr. Slinster said, I thought that's.
Yeah, don't we have the layout, the site plan for it?
I think, hang on one second. Adnan, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, is that something that maybe you can pull up, because I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It might not be the final one, but I think I might have some.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Then if you can pull that up when you have it, we could walk through from there. That would be great.
Yeah.
And it's my understanding the townhouses will be architecturally the same.
There, again, I wasn't fully prepared to go through that. We did have a similar but somewhat different concept for 113. Again, I don't know the final status of that with the latest submission. I want to make sure that we're, representing the right information here tonight.
Okay.
Okay, I have it here. If I can get the permission to share my screen.
Go ahead.
All right, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so what this is like 113 Steamboat, and we are proposing 5 townhouses in a row. Again, as Joe mentioned, it will be something similar to 112 townhouses with the garage and the parking spaces outside. The entrance, it's a two-way driveway coming in and out, 24 feet wide, which is enough for two-way circulation. And it's pretty straightforward, like 5 units with 10 parking spaces.
That's a much bigger, doesn't that property go back further than 125 feet?
No, actually, this is pretty much the extent of the property here.
Okay,
75 feet by 125.
okay.
And currently, whatever they had there were 7 units from what I remember there used to be there. I know that you presented something else about maybe 2 years ago. Then it came to a halt, and you're presenting something not as big in the front, but sort of
Yes,
flattening
it was
it.
7 units. It was 7 units before.
7 units, now you're making it 5 units. Instead of 3 stories, you're making it 2 stories and then going all the way across to the end. Okay.
Also, Mayor, it was 2 separate buildings on this lot. The front building had 5 units, and there's a rear house that it's a 2-family.
Right. You don't have the rendering for this one.
No, I don't think so. There we got to the point that Joe prepared any renderings, but I think the architecture will be quite similar to the one that you see for 112.
Are these rentals, or are these also going to be used by the rabbis?
For right now, the plan is that we're going to use it for the rabbis. If we're going to rent some of it, so then we would let the village know.
Okay, all right.
And
Okay.
we're prepared to answer any other questions any member of the board has.
On that last diagram that you had, which side was Steamboat Road? I wasn't able.
Facing to the bottom.
On the bottom part, that was
Yeah,
Steamboat?
where the roadway is coming in. I can bring it up again.
Thank you.
Steamboat is right here.
I see.
Okay, I'm assuming all these have to go back to the Nassau County again, and also Board of Zoning.
They have to go to Board of Zoning
So
on some of the dimensions. Some of the variances can be granted by the Board of Trustees, and some variances need the BZA.
Is it, Peter, so the next step is going to be getting the SEQA and having the application completed to go to Nassau County, wait for their response, and then it comes back to us and we have to make decisions on the facade use, which is already granted, but I guess new use possibly being granted. It probably needs to go to planning board to change the distribution of land, maybe. Am I correct?
Well, there are a number of things. First, I believe there was a denial letter issued on this back in January of 20. I spoke to Mr. Schlesinger, who indicated that there is no material change from the application as it existed at that time. Is that correct, Mr. Schlesinger?
Yeah, there were a couple of tweaks, but nothing major.
Right, but we'd have to go back and, I'm sorry,
I think there's a major change because in 2020, they did not have the corner lot, which they just purchased.
that's why I say it was represented to me there was no material change, but it sounds like there may have been changes. So I think first step is I have to take a look through this application
Actually,
and have a new denial.
Peter, the 20 letter was superseded by one dated January 7th, 22.
Okay, then I'm not sure that I've gone through that latest denial letter, but what we have to do is, once I've reviewed the denial letter, Mr. Schlesinger and I will have a conversation, but you are correct, Mayor, that the board can't make any land use decisions until it first is cleared by the Nassau County Planning Commission. And the Planning Commission typically will want to see the environmental material before it makes its comments. So I don't know what environmental information you've collected yet, Steve. Again, we're all doing this remotely. I don't have access to my office files right now. Did you already do your environmentals?
We, I believe, put in a letter, filled out the short form and are asking for a neg deck.
Okay, so we need a recommendation from the superintendent of buildings as to whether or not he feels he has sufficient information in the short form to recommend a CEQA determination. And then what we would do is advise the County Planning Commission that we have preliminarily reached a determination of a likely outcome of X, whatever X is. Let's say it's a negative declaration. And then all of the material, the environmental form, the proposed finding of CEQA, the application, and the denial letter would all go to the County Planning Commission. And then after the time period is run for them to comment, or they do comment, the board is then in a position to approve or disapprove. I still think there are a number of issues we have to look at, particularly with respect to the grandfathering and so forth. I think, Steve, you and I had worked out that might be, that might well be grandfathered, but that was something that I'd like to look at again.
I believe you and I discussed it. It's grandfathered, but it was grandfathered as the 7 units. And
right.
We're proposing to de-intensify the use and make it a more, I guess, design in line with what else is being built.
So, Mayor, I guess my answer to you is that I can identify the steps, but I think before we go further, I'm going to do a thorough review with Steve Aramis of the application itself and see which parts have to go to the BZA, which parts can stay with the Board of Trustees, and the package has to be put together to go over to the County Planning Commission.
Okay, so I think this was a preliminary presentation to the board and the public. Again, as I mentioned before, I think the plans are really beautiful, and I think what is there now and what will be there is going to be a significant difference and enhancement to the environment. So I think as far as that goes, personally, I think it's a beautiful presentation. But let's see what the councils can do together and the architect in order to gather the information needed to be sent, and then we'll take it from there. Anyone would like to make a comment? Any board?
Could you just put up the rendering of the shul again, or maybe the front and the Steamboat Road and the Wood Road elevations?
Yep,
yeah,
I can do that.
You can mention which one is Steamboat Road, which one is Wood Road, and which is, I think, the other side. I think there's another road. Yeah, there's a Florence.
So what you're seeing on the screen right now is the Steamboat Road entrance facade.
Where is the area you said for the kids to play? I just
behind the sign that says Kolel or Hana.
Oh, that's okay. Fine.
Yeah, it's not a playground. There's no equipment. It's just an outdoor space. If they wanted to utilize it, there's some protection from the road.
Okay. And then if you can show the east side elevation. East side, west side, and I believe north side.
Right. So this is the east facing facade. So if you're heading west on Steamboat, you would see this. This is overlooking the parking lot.
If you're heading east, you will see.
No, this is the east facing facade. So if you're heading west, you'd be seeing this.
I thought this is actually Steamboat, isn't it? No, where is Steamboat Road?
Here, I'll pull it. So the first elevation that I just showed with the knee wall and the sign is this one from Steamboat. The one that I have up now is this elevation here facing the parking lot, looking roughly to the east. So that is this elevation here.
Okay, so that's next to the, okay.
This is if you were standing in the taxi cab parking lot.
Correct.
And looking
Correct.
at the building.
Right, so that's what I thought. That's the east elevation, okay.
This is we'll call it the south elevation. This is to the rear of the building, facing the townhouse development.
This is facing the townhouse development, okay.
Correct, yep. And then, oh, I apologize. This is then the west facade facing Florence.
Okay, got it. All right. Beautiful design.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, very good. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Mayor, there's some member of the public that they have comments.
Okay.
So if you have a comment, please unmute yourself, state your name and address for the record, please.
Deanne Rafael, 107 Maple, got me on.
Go ahead.
Deanne
Thank you.
Rafael, 107 Maple Street.
Go ahead.
I've got a couple questions. Have you done any kind of traffic studies around here? I mean, Wood Road is not the greatest street to make a turn on. It really isn't. And from what I see, do the apartments empty onto Wood Road or not?
The townhouses empty onto Wood Road.
Yes.
And for
That's
traffic,
a
you've
bad-
eliminated the taxi cab hub, and the synagogue is existing, it's just changing the building. So there's no difference in the synagogue traffic.
You mean there's not going to be more traffic because of the apartments? I mean,
You have 14 units as opposed to 5 plus the taxi cabs.
a lot more traffic. Okay, and one other question about the apartments. You said that they're going to have garages. From the looks of the drawings, are the garages below grade? I thought we didn't allow that anymore.
Yes, the garages they're semi below grade. They're about half a story down. So if you look at the drawings here of the facade of the townhouses, the first floor is a couple of steps up. And in fact, there are some additional steps inside the first floor to get to this elevation here. And the garage is down less than half a story below. So it's sort of a split level. It's not truly underground parking, but we were able to elevate the first floor enough to get the garage below the first floor.
Okay.
Do I get to ask mine?
All right.
Can as long as we're open, Marcy Rafael, 107 Maple Street. It looks like you have steps into all of those units. What happens as far as like universal design in case someone has a walker or down the line, they have older people living in there or something like that? Because they look like they all have steps.
They do all have steps, and it sort of is just sort of inherent in the nature of the way townhouses like this work. A lot of them do end up like this. These kind of structures are governed by the residential code of New York State, not by the commercial code. So in fact, it is, there are different accessibility requirements than, for example, when we do a multifamily building that's governed by the commercial code. There are a number of strict accessibility requirements that must be met. Because these are single family homes, essentially, though they're attached, they get treated more so like a single family home would be treated when it comes to accessibility requirements in the code.
Okay, so then therefore they can't hire anybody that lives in a wheelchair because they can't get into any of these houses if they have the knowledge and stuff, which is, not like our saying as far as who they hire for teachers, but, therefore that leaves out a whole set of population because they can't get into these homes.
I think it looks like Abigail wants to speak. I would just say I don't believe that the hiring is exclusive to the use of these facilities, but I'll let Abigail explain that.
But if you're saying that the teachers are living in there, then they're not going to be able to get into the house.
Okay, so I would like to answer that. And we're very open to rent or buy or whatever is needed for other qualifying teachers. We are not going to not hire someone that's qualified and good for the community because he cannot live in these houses. In fact, these houses might be a little small for most people. And this would probably be for young couples because they are small. They're much smaller than the average house in Great Neck. So if we do have someone that needs a different house, we will have to accommodate them. Not in these townhouses.
Then that means you'll have to end up finding other property.
Just like any other family in the world, when they grow and if a house doesn't fit, they move somewhere else. Yes.
It's a totally different situation when you live in a wheelchair. I'm an occupational therapist. It's not that easy, but yeah, it's.
But of course, but obviously, I mean, I'm not planning to live there, and my husband is there 20 hours a day, and I don't live there, and I'm not planning to live there. So there will be other rabbis also who don't necessarily live there.
Okay.
It's not the only place where people can live.
No, I understand that, but it's just new, whatever. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And also, I think Deanne mentioned that Wood Road's not a good road to turn around on, but there would not be any turning around on Wood Road. This would be an entrance.
Wait.
Can't hear you.
Go ahead.
Not turning around, just exiting. I mean, Wood Road has always been a bad street to drive up to start with traffic. I'm talking about somebody who's making a turn from that corner. You know, the corner is off of Steamboat. The corner comes from the street. I'm trying to remember the one down below. And it's just,
I don't see any issue with that. I think that's.
I speak?
Go ahead. Go ahead,
Hi,
Karen.
Karen Bardash, 119 Maple Street. First of all, I'd say the rendering of the synagogue is really, really beautiful. I think it's a clever design. I like the overhang. I like the look of it. I feel bad for the people on Florence, however, because they're going to be losing a lot of trees and they're going to have a building in front of them, but it is what it is. I also love the idea of townhouses. I think Great Neck could use more townhouses. However, I lament the fact, and again, this has nothing to do with the property owners, it is your property. I lament the fact that the greater Great Neck, the population of Great Neck will not benefit from these townhouses. And this is just really a personal use thing. So I would love to see more townhouses in Great Neck, Board of Trustees and Mayor, because apparently we have an apparent lack of housing that exists here. And then what we have is an overabundance of high rises and apartment buildings. So again, I do congratulate the property owners. This is a beautiful idea of having townhouses. I just wish that it would be offered to residents that want to live there, young families outside of your community that need a starting place and a beginner home. And I just hope you landscape it with plenty of trees, because there will be a loss of trees when you develop. But good luck, and try to spread the wealth and share with the community a little bit. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you.
So Karen, I like to also mention, I think it's, I do agree with you that townhouses also should be an important component of any community. We have large houses, we have apartment buildings, and we do need to have townhouses because there are different needs and different people that can utilize them. So I do definitely agree with you, and I am going to, again, our board is not in the business of building. We do have to provide an environment that developers would want to come in and build these townhouses. And I think Steamboat Road will eventually have more townhomes. One of the things I like about this project, it's not for townhouses, it's 14. I'm not saying that I necessarily like the number 14 or less or more, but at least it gives it some kind of a community feel. Whereas if you go ahead and have only 4 or 5 townhouses, it's not going to have the same feel. We did change the code earlier on to not allow anything unless you have enough to make 12. Obviously, doesn't apply to those who have gotten grandfathering, which I think 113 has already. So this is something that we are hopefully going to see more of. And I do agree with you also that the plantation and trees would definitely make this place even more beautiful than it is today. So yes, I do agree with those comments. And I'm sure that Mojo Stumer will look into it to give a presentation with nicer, I mean, not nicer, but more plantation trees.
If I could just interject, I think Joe mentioned my name a few minutes ago. This is Dan Chevolian of Foremost Real Estate. We basically wear multiple hats for this project. I'm one of the founding members of the Kollel in Great Neck. I've been involved with it for the past 25 years. I'm a member of Great Neck, one of the board members. We also recently, about a year ago, decided to get involved with the development of this project. We are basically a development firm, and we want to back this project up both as far as putting a team together, which we have successfully, and both financially, God willing. As far as landscaping, basically, you guys know, as you know, this is not really the final landscaping. We will have a landscape architect getting involved, and we'll present the board with a much more beautiful landscaping plan. I think this project is just going to add tremendous benefits to the community. As far as the townhouses, I don't think that we are strictly looking to allow the occupants to be only the members of the Kollel. I think that we are open, hopefully down the line, if some members of the community need to rent from us, we will definitely be open to that. As far as the accessibility that some people were concerned about, if we do have people or someone who's going to live in this place, and we have that issue with them, we obviously will look at that and accommodate them. There are all kinds of lifts and other stuff that can be implemented. So we're looking to really forward to pick up this project and just move ahead with it, and hope that we can get through all the governmental permits and issues quickly. We have a tremendous team here together. We're very proud of Mark Stumer's office and the Schlesinger, and we have a great civil engineer. So we think and we know that this is going to add a tremendous benefit to the community. It's just going to beautify the community tremendously. I thank everyone for allowing us to speak tonight, and happy to answer any other questions if the board has any other questions.
Can I just make one more comment?
1 second. Let's see if anybody else. Okay, Karen.
Yes, I would want to just piggyback on what Rafael said. I also was under the impression that we cannot have below grade level parking. So I asked that is really seriously looked into, because I know there's other residences that have been built with below grade level, and that should not have gone ahead. So if you can please look into that. And also, excuse me?
What is that based on?
I was just always under the impression that there was like a moratorium, or that at a certain point in our history in the village that, I live on Maple Street, and there's a bunch of, these driveways that go way down. And at a certain point, I was under the impression the village said no more of that. Now, maybe that was taken off the plate again, because 136 has a really steep driveway.
Wait, you said you're under the impression. I'm just wondering where you actually
just from living here for about 50 years. I mean, I haven't read the code. So and again, my neighbors also, this is something, when we live here for so many years, you just hear things. So, and for a very long time, these driveways stopped. So now that they seem to be coming back, I would just hope that due diligence is done and that's really looked into, okay? And also moving forward, if these properties were ever rented to the greater public, would that put them back on the tax rolls? Because this is a huge property that now again is off of our tax rolls. So I just
But it
want to say, and you know, I know Mayor and everybody, I know we can't do anything and we can sell, whoever
No, no,
buys,
but
buys.
first of all,
That's
it
fine.
has been off the tax roll already. It's not
I
that.
know that. Yes, I know that. I'm very aware. Yes.
If it is being rented, it goes back on the tax roll.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, just a quick comment, not on this. I just wanted to let you know, I just got a message. We are not handing out, our village is not handing out masks. We're not going door to door giving people masks or N95s, and we're not asking anybody to get fitted. Please do not accept any masks. If people come to your doors, it's not coming from the village. 1, 2, we do have some home testing kits for people who are available, who may need. I know that the government is actually now giving it online. You can just apply for it and do self-testing. I don't know my feeling about these self-testing homes. They're not extremely accurate, but I guess if you want to go to a gathering and you think you may have been contaminated with this virus, or you think you have symptoms, maybe you want to test yourself before you go. But please, again, I'm going to say the village of Great Neck or Nassau County, as far as I'm concerned, and I know, are not handing out any forms of masks. So please do not accept any masks from people who may knock on your door. Thank you. Also,
while we're taking this little public service announcement break, I do want to mention, because I don't think we're meeting, actually, we're not meeting after this, but until January 26th. I don't know what day of the week that is, but there is a blood drive.
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, January 26th from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Temple Bethel. Police will be there from 4 to 7 as well for Shed the Meds. And they're only accepting pills and capsules. So again, January 26th between 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. at Temple Bethel. Blood is badly needed. I'm sure the mayor will tell you there's a big shortage in the hospitals. So if anybody can get out there and let other people know that we do have this blood drive going on.
Right. So this is being done in conjunction with Village of Great Neck and Temple Bethel. They have actually helped us with distributing about 1,000 vaccines before. So I do want to thank them again for their participation in these communal events. Also wanted to say about type O negative blood. I can tell you that it's badly needed. It's the first line in time of emergency and trauma. O negative is being used. So if anyone out there is healthy enough to donate and they know that they are O negative, please make sure you attend and tell your friends. Thank you again. I guess we're done with the presentation of 112 and 113. I wanted to thank Mojo Stumer, the Rabbi, the Rebbitzin, and Mr. Shavulian for participating. This will go to the next round, which will be the discussion between the council and the architects to prepare the package to be sent to the county, where it will come back after they approve it to us, and we will send it to the appropriate boards and see where we go with this. If you don't have any more questions on this, can we go to the next item?
Very much.
Thank you.
Just
Thank you
one
all
more,
for your
one other question I have. So we're putting the packages together, 112 and 113, as one presentation.
I don't know. I don't know if, again, Peter, can that be at one application? I don't know.
It can be done, whether or not it can be combined into one application or two, it can be done simultaneously.
Right. So simultaneously, I think again, Dan, I think it's something that the lawyers have to make a decision if it can be done as one application. I think it's probably easier to be done as two applications, but done simultaneously.
I have a quick question about the 113 Steamboat. I want to know when, I mean, the building is nice, so it looks like a burnt out building. I wanted to know when are you planning to knock it down?
As soon as we get the permits.
Okay, that's not done. Okay.
We're ready to go tomorrow.
As-
Yeah, because
as-
it's kind of an eyesore. We're getting
as you
complaints on
get
it also.
The demo permit or the building permit?
The building permit, the new building permit.
The
We should get a
demo,
demo permit first.
So Steve, is there again, this is something that I wanted to get done. I really think getting the building permit, going through the county and back, I don't know if we should hold on to this building. First of all, it's an eyesore. Second of all, I think it's becoming dangerous. Why is it that we can't demo the building, knowing that they will get the building built? What's the point of holding on to this building?
so Mayor, the way the code reads is they would need approval from the mayor and the board to demo the building without having a building permit in place. And I know the mayor and the board has
They might
already,
want to try asking.
well, that's the thing. I know.
We can ask. We're happy to demo it. We just want to be sure that we reserve our rights for the grandfather of the the initial 7 apartments that we have there into the new concept.
Right,
I
the
mean,
word
if you're not gonna
commercial keeps getting thrown around, but you'd have to still get BZA approval. There's
Steve,
still
do I not recollect that part of the reason for that code provision is the board was not anxious to have a property demoed and stay in a demolished condition and have that process take so long and nothing replacing it. So as I recall, the code says before you can get the demo permit, you either have to tell the village what you're going to do with the property and either get a building permit for what you're going to put there, or even if you're going to have just open space, you need to get an approval of what's going to go in before you can take it out. Steve, am I remembering that code section correctly?
Correct.
When I mentioned grandfathering, because a couple of years ago, we were granted permits to just renovate the existing structure into a new building with 5 or 7 units in it. And once we started doing that, we realized that the structure is completely in a very bad shape. The foundation is not good. And then the idea of putting townhouses on the site was put, forth in front of us. And that's how we shifted into townhouses. So if the village can tell us, yes, we think we're going to get you this, we'll knock it down tomorrow.
I think rather than referring to that as townhouses, we're reconfiguring the way the multifamily use on that property is to be rebuilt.
I understand, Steve.
So, Peter, I think it has come to a point that, again, I've been asking for this for months now. There must be a way, and I don't know by holding on to a burnt unit or burnt building, the grandfathering stay or leaves, or by demolishing it if the application has been put in, we can hold on to the status of the grandfathering. But I really think we need to come up in a very clever and a proper way for this building to be demolished as soon as possible. And if that's something that my village, the board, I don't think it has to do with the board necessarily, but it has to do with you, Peter, and maybe Mr. Solinger, to come up with a draft of some kind of an agreement. So this can be done. I really appreciate it, because this should not stand like this for another 5 months or 6 months, just because we can't get to the bottom of getting these buildings built.
I completely agree with you. And I think, Steve, you and I can work together, if that's okay, in coming up with an initial draft and putting it in front of the village of a basically document that would say that we're intent to go ahead with a new building approval for the townhouses. And but we do want to reserve our rights. For whatever reason that doesn't work, we want to be able to have the same building back up again, and we don't want to lose our right to have at least 5 or 7 units there.
Right. So
we can work on that document together.
I'm going to go back to this. I think The way this is being done is wrong. I don't think that we should hold on to this ugly, burnt out building because you want to reserve the right. Either you build it or you knock it down. And I think at this point, it has gotten to a point that with the next meeting we'll have on February 1st, I would like to have some kind of a resolution that we can start going toward the demolition. This is something that needs to be done by you and your council in conjunction with Peter and my building department. I would expect that your team will come up with a proper presentation of getting this building knocked down. I don't think this building should stay up any longer just because you want to reserve the right. We're trying to do everything we can to beautify that area, and I think that building is just killing it. So please have all the options on the table, Peter, and I would like to have next meeting, which is going to be February 1st. Am I right, Abraham?
Yes.
I would like on that meeting to have a resolution and a solution for this, and I'm hoping that this can be remedied as soon as possible.
We'll definitely get on it right away, no problem.
Thank you.
And Steve, both Steves, I think we're looking at subdivision N demolition permits under section 237 dash 7. And N provides that no building permit shall be issued. N shall say that there's no permit for demolition shall be issued unless there's also simultaneously being given a permit for the construction of a new principal structure.
Yes.
N like, just go down a little further, N like Nancy.
Okay, so I think between your team, the three of you, the Steves, Peter, and hopefully this is going to be remedied by next meeting. So Abraham, please have it on the schedule, on the agenda for February 1st.
Noted.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank
you, everybody, for your time. Have a good night.
All right.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Good night.
Thank you.
The next item on the under new business is the amendment to the contract of sale for the property located at 265 East Shore Road. Just pull it up. This is the amendment to the contract, as you can see in front of you. It was prepared by Peter in conjunction with the counsel of the purchaser of the property.
Basically, section 1.04 of the contract under which the village is selling to Villadome the property that was the old sewer pump station. That contract called for the purchaser to within 24 months from the receipt of the village approvals, take certain steps. And it took some time for the village approvals to come through. I believe they actually came through at the last Board of Trustees meeting on, what was the last date of the board meeting? There were lengthy approval resolutions given. And what the applicant is saying is, we're going to need more time. So we're changing it from 24 months to 36 months. And that really is what's happening here. It's just giving the purchaser a longer period of time within which to take his next set of steps on that contract. It notes that up to this point in time, neither thinks that the other party is in breach of the agreement. The rest of the contract stays in place. And that is the purpose of this amendment. Is there a motion to authorize the mayor to execute this amendment to the contract of sale?
I'll move it.
Moved, and is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously.
Item D under new business is a noise complaint regarding the property located at 509 Middle Neck Road. Dr. Abraham. Dr. Abraham, you're muted. Dr. Abraham, you're muted. If you could please unmute yourself.
Okay, you could,
Okay,
We can hear you, Dr. Abraham.
can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. This is a situation is relatively simple, in my opinion. It involves an exhaust fan that was placed in the basement. I think I just took a paper out. 1 minute. Of the pizza facility, a restaurant. I was in the rear part in the alley, facing east, and it is placed in the bottom of a stairway with an opening at that stairway, which enhances the noise that the exhaust fan makes. The exhaust fan has been there from the beginning. It was defectively installed. You cannot have an exhaust fan leading into an alley for a whole basement facility. It's against the code, and there's precedent cases in the village going back to 1999 with reference to a fan on the first floor, on not even the basement, facing the alley. And if not only is it defectively designed, it required a chute to go from the basement to the roof, with the exhaust fan facing towards Middle Neck Road, so no noise would be emanated, and the neighbors would not be would live in a reasonable environment with no noise bothering them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you go to your own code, section M, okay, it said the use of any apparatus which produces or any other sound which is measured in accordance with ANSI S16, 1984, inside any adjacent or neighboring building or any adjacent or neighboring residential unit is in excess of 45 decibels as measured with a sound level meter. The sound level is up in the range close to 80. But that's not the point here. There is a section S here. I'm sorry, it was measured close to 60 decibels that was measured. But section S says any other noise or such character, intensity, and duration as to be detrimental to the life or health of any reasonable person of normal sensitivities or contrary to the public welfare is prohibited. That's your section S. So we're not looking at the decibel level. We're looking at section S. And if you go back to 1989, I was just involved with some other papers here. So let me see if I got it here. In 1989, I think it was Henderson or some the building inspector quoted that section for one of the stores that had a noisy fan facing the alley, and they made them move it and put in an exhaust system that met the code, where the exhaust system went to the roof. There were many other stores and delis in the area. The one near the post office, for example, has their chutes going an exhaust system going to the roof on the side of the building. And the noise at that particular point, when you do that and it passes the code, the noise is eliminated. And we have come before the board several times. Speaking to the people that own it or manage it is useless, because it's been done many times and it's continually ignored. And then I would request that the board do something in a more positive way that would force the pizza restaurant to make the changes within a very short period of time. For example, within 3 weeks, it's minimal expenses. You're only putting up a chute. You're taking the exhaust fan system and putting it on the roof. We make this request. The people living within 200 feet of that restaurant continually hear the noise, especially in the summer in the evening and now in the evening, and can actually hear it on 2 blocks away, east of Middle Neck Road, right off Baker Hill Road. We're requesting all of the neighbors surrounding the area within 200 feet that the store rectify the situation in meeting the code so that Section S would be followed, and the individuals living in the area would not continually put up with the excessive noise from that store 24 hours a day, especially during the evening. And a lot of people have found it difficult or find it difficult to sleep at night. I can tell you that some of the windows from the noise do vibrate slightly, and you do hear that as a result of the excessive noise. That's my request. It's not my request, it's all the people's requests surrounding the store area.
So Steve, I know we have addressed this before, and I don't know what else is there to do. What is their response to this noise complaint?
So in the past, they had said that they had left the fan on overnight by accident. And
Right.
they would make sure that they would shut it down at nighttime before they left. I will be going in there tomorrow to visit them. As I spoke to Dr. Abraham on Friday, I told him we'll take care of it. But due to the holiday on Monday, I was not in, nobody was in. And today I was awfully busy.
If the fan is in violation of our noise code, turning it off at night isn't really.
Well, I have to go because I know the previous inspector was over there with a sound decibel reader, and it did not go over the allowable.
So why don't you do this? Why don't you go there with Dr. Abraham?
I would love
Okay,
to.
I want to interrupt everybody here. Everybody. You're not telling the truth, Steve, and I love you.
I have call. I only tell.
Because let me tell you something. They have not stopped. It goes 7 days a week, 24 hours a
You have
day.
to remember something to call. You said this about it was chosen. It wasn't chosen. We did the bagel.
No, you were correct. Now, first of all, you were
sit here and
correct.
argue with you and debate this with you. Everything that you've asked me to do, I have done repeatedly.
No,
Okay.
Steve, I'm talking about the
Say
pizza.
nothing has been done, Carl. That's not fair to say.
You
And I
were
said that.
correct. You were correct. You can't speak to these people. We don't want it shut off at night. We don't eat at 10 o'clock at night.
I agree.
All right, so why should it be shut off at night? It's a violation. That installation, they never received a C of O. It's a violation of the code. Period. We want it out.
I'm gonna look to see if any C of Os were issued. This was all done prior to me being here, Carl. I will.
Yeah,
look
yes, I
I
know
will
that.
make sure that they have Nassau County Fire Marshal approvals as well, because you can't install that system without Nassau County Fire Marshal approvals. So I will make sure that was all done.
We don't want them to speak with them. We want the code met. That's what we want.
I know, but I can't just go there and just have them rip something out. I have to let them know what the violation is. If it was approved in the past, I honestly have to look into it. It takes time to look into.
Well, we
It's
did
something I
look
could do
into it. I
overnight.
looked into it. We both looked into that store in Chosen. Neither one had a permit. Neither one had a C of O. We both looked at it together. You and I took out the plans together. I was in your office. We did it down in the courtroom. If you recall, they were brought down the plans. We looked at them. They did not have a C of O. So what are we looking for now?
Carl, when Pizza Rocks went in, they were given a C of O to operate.
It doesn't mean,
Listen,
given a C of O, who inspected it to give a C of O? You can't have a C of O if you have
well,
a
I tell you,
violation.
Carl, I can guarantee you this, it wasn't me.
I know it wasn't you. I know you better. I know you better. Whoever gave it to him should not have given it to him because it did not meet the code. If it doesn't meet the code, they cannot have a C of O. Period. I'm annoyed listening to all this stuff. You can't go and talk to them.
Carl.
You got to give them a violation and it must be corrected.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Speaking to them is useless.
I agree.
Thank you. I agree with you. You're a good guy.
I will take care of it, Carl. I don't want you to get sick over it.
I don't get sick. You know, I got a neighbor that comes over crying. They can't sleep at night. They're older people. I know them 40 years. Okay. I know the daughter and son very well. And one of them works with me. And they're nice people.
I'm sure
And they can't handle the noise. They're old.
I'll take care of it, Carl. I
Thank
will call you tomorrow. I will take care of it.
Well, wait a second. Can we just conclude that they'll receive a violation?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem. Carl, have
Thank
a good night.
Now it'll all be rectified. You will follow up and the fan will disappear.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
It was worth waiting, guys.
All right, Carl. Nice seeing you again.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, good night.
All right, bye now.
Good night.
The next item on the agenda is a proposal from H2M for a drainage study that they are giving us a proposal to do this study. I'm just pulling it up. So let me find it. Here it is. The proposal is on your screen.
I think this is the continuation of the preliminary study that they presented to us, I think about a month ago. So I think now that they have realized what it involves, they want to have a proposal to start digging even deeper. So I just want, as for clarification, that they did start and they have given a presentation. And then this is just a continuation to hopefully come up with more detail as it takes significant more time. And hopefully we can come up with something. Okay.
As you can see on the screen, they are looking to see possible alternative that could be increasing the pipe capacity. It could be a rerouting of the portion of the existing drainage system, incorporating detention, storage, or other stormwater control measures. and installing installing a storm water pump station surrounding the areas that are very prone to flood, which is basically Warwick, Plymouth, and Chadwick. The scope of the service, as you could see at the bottom of the page, they are looking to perform the study over the next 6 months, and the proposal is for $30,000. And if the board remembers a few months ago when this happened back in September 1st, I believe the residents came to the village hall at the end of September or beginning of October. The mayor mentioned that the possible solution could be to raise the houses and elevate the houses. So they are proposing a $5,000 additional fees if they need to do the feasibility study for elevating the houses on those 3 streets as well. So without the feasibility study for elevating the houses, it's $30,000. With the feasibility study, it's $35,000. And if you would like to accept it or deny it. I'm sorry, before you, the schedule is as you could see, it's here. Various. It seems like it will take about 5 months from the time that they start to finish.
So I don't know about the feasibility, if we do need a study for them to see if we can raise. I don't know what that means, feasibility of what? What are they doing? What does that entail?
Do they come up with a cost of how much it'll be to raise the houses?
When they did this study about 20 years ago, they did come up with the price tag of how much it would be, for example, to add additional stormwater pipe or additional drainage system. So
that's something they're doing with that $30,000. What is that $5,000 going to do?
It probably will see the cost of how much it will cost the village or the homeowners to raise their houses 3-4 feet, whatever the elevation would be required to do that.
Right.
And this is an option, one of their optional services. You're not, the contract does not bind you to engage them for that purpose. It's listed on.
You know what? I'm okay with going with the $30,000. I'm hoping that they're going to come up with something, and they're just not going to say after $30,000, but they can't really come up with anything. And I hope they come up with something that is realistic, not fictional. There's no hydraulics that can actually go in and try to send the water from here to this. So I don't know how. I hope that they come up with something that is feasible and just not doing a study for the sake of the study. That said, I'm okay with the spending of the $30,000 to hopefully find a solution that is feasible. I'm cautiously optimistic. Anybody would like to move the 30,000 expenditure?
I'm just wondering why you would not just go all the way and let them do the feasibility on raising the houses.
Say again?
Why wouldn't you just go all the way and let them do the?
I don't know what, because I don't know what that entails. What does that mean, feasibility to raise the houses?
Well,
Meaning, if it's feasible to raise the houses, are they going to do a shadow study? Are they going to do height study? What kind of study are they going to do? What is it they're going to tell me after they do this study? Yes, you can raise it, or what it's going to cost to raise it. I need to know more specifically what that is.
But that's probably what that study would do.
I know probably, I just don't know exactly what it would do. And I just don't want to go into this and then they say, oh, you know what? The study is just going to say, yes, you can do it. How? That's going to be another $10,000 to tell you.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I can read you the last 3 paragraphs of the proposal. It says one of the alternative identified At the Board of Trustees meeting was the potential to elevate homes as an optional service. H2M can provide a general assessment of raising various homes in the neighborhood. Our scope of work of these services is as follows. H2M will conduct a site visit to select areas along Chadwick, Plymouth, and Warwick Road to assess, and identify potential opportunities and constraints with raising residential homes along these streets. We will make a general assessment of existing utilities that will need to be modified for home raising, extent of crawl space, and steps required, including staging area for this type of work. We will include interior observation of up to 6 homes, which generally represent the type of construction of residents in the area. The information will enable H2M to develop a preliminary option of probable cost to raise a home. So basically, they will come up with the price tag on how much it would cost to do that.
And how to do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
the parameters to do it.
All right, fine. So if that's what it does, I think, I really think that's what's probably going to happen at the end. So I'm okay
Well,
with.
the whole point is that we kind of offered this to the residents as a
I
possible
understand.
solution. So
Right.
why not give them whether it's actually feasible or
That's
not?
what's going to be at the end. I think that the option probably is going to be that.
That's why I'm thinking we should include it.
Right. That's okay. If they're going to do all of this, then I'm okay with doing it.
Did we do any research to see how much it costs in Long Beach and in some of the other areas on the South Shore that were affected by Sandy? How much it costs to raise those homes?
They got federal money to do that.
Right, I know, but it still costs a certain amount. Do we know what that cost is? I mean, if we have an idea.
It was 10 years ago. and
Right,
I-
except we have a ballpark estimate. It might give us some idea. I mean.
Steve, what's it
if-
about? You mentioned it was $150,000 to $200,000, Steve?
Haramis?
Yeah.
Steve?
Yes. Mayor, the fees to raise a house, it's different for every house, depending if they have basements or if they're on a slab or not.
Or if they're brick sided or if they're.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
But from what I remember, it was about $150,000 to $200,000.
Well, if we know that that's, you know, a ballpark estimate, I guess the question is the village going to pay for it? Or is it something that the homeowner will accept?
No.
And if the homeowner is going to pay for it, then I guess the question is, do they want to spend that kind of money? And, you know, because we're putting this.
Annie, it's not.
First, you have to see if it's doable.
You know, I think one of the things these raising of the homes will do is that it increases the value of the current space, because what you do in a way is that you're increasing the size of the building and usability of whatever you build there.
But you're making the assumption that someone is going to spend that kind of money. And I guess if.
I'm making the assumption that when they want to sell, eventually, whomever is going to sell, or they may decide to sell and move somewhere else, that they can take the value that it's added to their homes and use it for some other place. So if someone comes in and adds value to my home by changing the zone or by allowing me to do something that I couldn't have done otherwise, and now all of a sudden my home is worth another $200,000, $300,000 when I want to sell it, that's a huge benefit to me.
It
So
also.
if I want to do it myself, I can sell it and then ask a developer or a builder to do it.
I just want to mention one thing. It not just raises the house, but it adds substantial living space to that house, because these are slab houses where part of the house is taken up by garage. So by raising it, the garage and storage space become the lower level, and now the living space increases tremendously above.
Okay, but we do this study and say we determine that it costs X amount to raise the house. And some people decide they're going to do it, and some people decide that they're not going to do it. Then, or maybe everyone decides, you know what, we're going to table it and wait 5 years or 10 years. In 5 or 10 years, this data is obsolete.
So Mayor and Board, we have Wendy Cepel, one of the residents from the area. I don't know if she wants to chime in here.
I would love
Any of
to.
this?
I would love to. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm listening to all this and I think it's really disturbing, quite honestly, because all this time has gone by. If they're going to go ahead and do a study, I think most of us would want to see what could be done with what's here already. Not worrying about raising the houses because
I'm sorry, they are doing that study already. That's a $30,000 study.
I understand.
$5,000 study, another $5,000 to see what it's going to be, the feasibility of raising the homes. But the main part of the study is to see what we can do to remedy what is currently there.
But they're saying, see, to me, they're not being specific enough to really justify the timing. They're saying that they're going to have 6 months to do this study, and yet they've done a preliminary study already. And this is the same engineers that have been part of the community all along. It doesn't make sense to me that we couldn't do something on a quicker. It should be done in a way that it should not be 6 months because they have information already. They do, correct? These are the same engineers that we've been using all along. They did a preliminary. I'm sure whether or not they've taken cameras or they have pictures from years ago, there should be a quicker way to do it, not 6 months. All of us who have been going through the changes and rebuilding our homes because everything was destroyed in most of our homes. I mean, the thought of waiting another 6 months to see whether or not they can come up with something that we can do with our drains. I don't know. Does that really make sense to you? I would want more specific information from them. Like, what do they have now? That's one of the reasons why I thought one or two of us from the community could have been in on a meeting with these engineers to see exactly what do they have? What is it that they're looking for? Is it I can ask a lot of questions. You can't answer that, I understand. But at this point, they should be able to answer a lot of questions and not take 6 months to investigate what? They've already started an investigation. You have plans. They must know how the water runs, where it's possible maybe to take water away, whether it means putting other things underground, blocks away, or bigger pipes. I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but I certainly can ask the right questions if I was allowed to, or people were able to do that before we're going to spend the money. I would want them to come back with something concrete. But then the other part of it.
Presentation, though. They had a presentation that people were invited to.
Yes, and I was there. And nothing was specific other than the fact that I saw that they have plans. They do know what's underground. So now this next study, it shouldn't take 6 months because they know what they're dealing with. What are they going to do now? They should be more specific in your proposal.
I can't tell you why it takes 6 months because I'm also not an engineer. I don't know why things take as long as they do. And I'm sure they have an explanation why 6 months. I can't tell you. I think on that, if you can go back, Abraham, to the timeline, I think the timeline says what they're going to do at each month. I don't think they have all the information that you think they should have. They have authorizations, review of Nassau County DPW report, which I think they should have done that already. Bill-based map, and they should have all these file work, identified watch.
Yes, what did they do? What did they do before? See, when I was at the meeting and they said they have certain information already, what is it that they did before that's going to be different now?
Apparently, based on what they're saying, they have to get more information. I don't know what that means. And I also thought that they should have a lot of these informations already.
So isn't it possible, I don't want to interrupt, but isn't it possible to go back to them and ask them to be more specific about really what they're going to do? Because I don't want you to, you could spend the $30,000 and we could end up with really no more information.
I think that if you look at this schedule, it kind of gets into it around February 21st, where it says they're going to develop this computer model. And that might give us all a lot more information on what might be possible. You know, it may tell us nothing. It may tell us that this is infrastructure, right? It may tell us that they're not able to do something, you know, feasible to alleviate this. But then they will evaluate alternatives and report back to us. But this is all in the next couple of months. I mean, this is a situation that's been here for decades. So I don't think that this is outrageous or unreasonable.
No, it's just the fact,
Get it right.
it's just the fact that if this has been a situation for so long, why did it take so long to address it? These are the same engineers that have been part of the village, right?
Because of, as has been pointed out by the engineers and by this board, the number one issue that goes on in the Baker Hill area is topography. Okay, topography is not something that may not be fixable. It's not something that was probably addressed before, because I mean, it was addressed in the original infrastructure, and supposedly they built drains to withstand 100-year storms. But if a 100-year storm is going to come every 10 years or every 5 years, then obviously it's time to do something like this. But this,
you know that on Chadwick and on Plymouth, they have had multiple floods over a course of the years. It's not like this storm was not the first storm where people had problems.
This is the one that entered people's homes. There's been flooding on Chadwick and Plymouth before.
Correct.
But this is the one that entered people's homes. So this was the eye opener, right? There have been floods that have done damage to lawns, and there have been floods that have definitely come up to people's stairs. But as far as I know, the water did not enter Plymouth. Maybe, I don't think it was, I forget which.
On Chadwick it has.
On Chadwick it has. It was, I think about 15 years ago or 10 years ago. No, it had to be 15 years ago.
At least 15 years.
When I was on the planning board, I remember when Chadwick turned into a river, and we saw similar images of the train station looking like Niagara Falls.
Correct.
So, and this was the storm that kind of rivaled that one, or surpassed it actually, and people's homes got destroyed or wrecked, you know, property. So, you know,
well, can we ask the engineers to give us a preliminary report somewhere around the end of February?
If you see, they're giving us a report in April, or that's the plan. So I don't think that that's a crazy amount of time. I mean, let them do it right. I mean, you don't want them to just to produce something that's not going to be of value. Let them do what they need to do. They're engineers. They know how to do this stuff. They know what they're talking about.
I think the question is, what is it they know now, and what is it extra? I think that's the question she's asking, and rightfully so. That's the question I like to know as well.
Correct.
What is it they know now, and what is it that they're going to figure out with this $30,000?
They're also a business, and they need to be authorized to do this stuff and to report back to us and to do the work and know they're going to get paid. So that's
based on the data they have right now, they may determine that
they're coming to us right now to see if we're willing to do this.
The question, again, Bart, I think the question is, are they going to regurgitate the information they have today in 6 months? And they say, okay, fine, this is costing us $30,000, or are they going to find new information that they don't currently have? And I think the question she's asking rightfully is that, what is the information that they're going to gain, and why is it that they do not have, or they have not had this information in their position till now? I think that's a proper question. I don't know the answer. I do want to help the people, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes for these, you know, for an answer to be given. I'm just not sure. And I think it's a question that we should ask before, if the board does not mind, to give me the authority to sign the contract. But before I do that, I would like for them to tell me, what is it that they're going to gain? Or are they going to just take the information they have and come up with a solution? If the information they have currently is the final information, just need to come up with a solution, and that solution is going to cost $30,000, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But if they're going to just tell us, okay, fine, these are the information we gathered, I just need to know why is it that they have not had those informations if they are the engineer of the village for such a long time. So if the board doesn't mind to authorize me to sign the contract after a quick phone call with them, maybe tomorrow or Thursday, then go ahead and approve this based on that, authorize me based on that initial second conversation with H2M.
I move to authorize you.
Say
I don't
again?
think it should be, I don't think it should be a quick phone call. I think we need to be very specific with what.
A phone call, not a quick phone call, but I need to understand what is it that they're going to gain. Or I want them to say, what is it exactly? Based on, if you go back to the contract for a second, I think there's a lot of things that they're saying they're doing some studies. I think elevation alternatives, computed models, identified watersheds. I mean, that they should probably have where the watersheds are. Field work. Abraham.
I mean, have they actually gone into the system like with cameras, like you would with any kinds of pipelines? What have they, physically done that with machinery? I don't know. Do you know that answer?
Contract to do that yet.
I don't know. I think what we are doing, we're trying to rely on them heavily to do the right thing. And they probably, if anyone can, apparently H2M can. I mean, they're a very big engineering company and they should be able to do, if anyone can come up with any suggestions, probably them. I would like to know, though, what information they have and what they're going to gain and how they're going to gain those informations. And again, I think if anybody wants to be maybe on a Zoom call with them tomorrow, any of the member of the board would like to have a quick meeting, or maybe not a quick meeting, a meeting with them to explain exactly what they're going to do. I mean, they're saying they're going to develop a computer model. Okay. And this is, I think what they're doing is they're coming up with a report and they're going to say, what are the issues? Is there anywhere here that says that they're going to come up with suggestions, or they're just going to find out things?
I mean, the computer model may just be simulating a storm and showing what went wrong. And it could be that it will always go wrong. When
right,
you're.
But that doesn't tell me anything.
Exactly. We may get very little from this.
I don't want them to spend 6 months to come and tell us, oh, you know what, by the way, if there's going to be 100-year storm, the houses are going to get flooded. Well, I think we know that 6 months before.
Right.
We already know that that's going to happen. I need to know if this is going to bring them to give us a solution or just tell us what the problem is.
Mayor, if you look at this,
it's pretty deep. Yeah, Abraham, thank you. Continue.
It just says the following an analysis, H2M will prepare a final technical report that will include a summary of our stormwater analysis, major findings, recommendations, and cost opinion for various improvements. We will also review the need for permits or approval for option discussed. We would be available to meet with you and other representative.
Where are they putting that on their timeline? I know they're saying it here, but where is that on their timeline?
If you look at here, right before they issue their, I'm sorry, I missed that. 1 second. It's here.
Yeah.
The report is right here that they're saying that it's going to take between April and May. they're going to put it together after they do all this analysis for the past 2 months, 3
The
months.
report is going to tell us what the remedy strategy is.
The recommendation that they would have, and then they're going to, before they issue the report, they will meet with the village officials to issue the report, and then the optional service would be the elevation of the houses, that it's a separate engagement, that they have to go out, visit at least 6
And
homes.
that is actually, I think, the one that makes the most sense.
But they have to do the evaluation first. They have to do the analysis first before they get to the second part, which is, if there is another better way, rather than everybody spending $150,000 to elevate, if there is another way of doing it by maybe adding a pipe or increasing the capacity of the pipe, or finding a watershed area that the water can be directed to that area, that would probably be a better solution, rather than every homeowner to spend $150,000 to elevate their homes.
Well, the question becomes is what makes everyone think that we want to elevate our homes and incur a cost of $150,000 to $200,000 when we've just spent a fortune to put our houses back together? That's not the approach it should be. It should be what can be done with what we have, not raising our homes as a solution that takes everybody away from their responsibility. I mean, the pipes in our system.
Several residents have asked about this option in the eventuality that fixing the infrastructure is not feasible. That's all.
Well, I don't think that you've spoken to the community, because I do. And quite honestly, they're so upset with the cost that we've had to incur, because 90% of the people did not have flood insurance, and FEMA did not reimburse them to the capacity that they needed in order to really put their homes back together correctly. They're doing it, and everyone is doing the best they can. But what I'm saying is that it's unfair to presume that we want to incur additional costs to raise our homes when the priority should be what can be done with what we have.
But again, I think
that to me is what the community would prefer. I mean, you're going to do what we can do, but in the end, that's not the end solution to raise the homes. It might be down the line, but right now we have to work with what we have and what could possibly be done so that we don't have to incur additional costs. You're going to say it's going to come out of our pockets. Long Beach, the federal government paid for it. Now the federal government has a lot of money. I've spoken to our assembly people. We should be able to get money from the federal government to subsidize the village right now for the $30,000. Whatever money you need to incur, we should be asking for funding. And I think that's a good possibility. I don't know when you'd get it, but maybe we can apply for it and you can get reimbursed for it.
Infrastructure.
That's what the assembly people have told me. So, I'm hoping that the village would take the time to talk to our assembly people and make sure that the funds that are available, which they will be from the federal government, that we can be subsidized for this, for the cost that, whatever the cost might be, to improve the system so this doesn't happen again.
Well, we had spoken to the assembly person and the senator and also the congressman, who they all, I'm sure you remember, they all came and visited, and they all promised they're going to do whatever it takes. I think at this time, there are a couple of things. One, if H2M can come up with a reasonable and a solution that is realistic, I think obviously it's the first choice. But if the solution is going to be either, listen, it's under the level, it can't be done for whatever it is, or it's not even cost effective. Let's say they're going to cost $50 or $60 million. If we can't get that money from the feds, I don't think that process can go forward. Then it's going to be the $5,000 that need to be done. And the $5,000, I mean, the $5,000 that we need to pay them to tell us how we can raise. So you're right, that's not the first option. I think based on what they said initially, they are going in that direction as well, unless during these process of, finding out, they may find another way. And I hope that they do. I really do hope that they find something. And again, I don't think the village is going to pay for it, but I think what's going to happen, we have to ask some kind of a grant that comes from either the state, the feds, like not even the county, that is going to really have to come up with some kind of a solution to solve this problem for that neighborhood. But listen, if we have the engineering plan that we can show them, hopefully that can give us more power to actually sit down with those lawmakers and get the proper funding from them.
Well, originally, I believe Curran was supposed to do also a study for the areas that flood. Now, we're not even near water. So, we can't even talk about the sound or the ocean. This came from our drainage system, the backup of water. That being said, now that she's not in office, have you reached out to our county at this point, or will you reach out to them to see whether or not they're going to continue to do what Curran had suggested that they were going to do, which was to do a study themselves about the areas that had flooded from Ida?
Well, I think I have to see what is the scope and the area that H2M is going to do. And I think they have to tell us what areas they need to, the county needs to do. You don't want to do the same thing. I mean, I don't want to do the same thing that the county does, and I'm sure county doesn't want to do the same thing we're doing. So I think that what's the scope, that can be taken to the county, and the county can do their own study. Based on what I know, they had done a study and they came up with a pipe that was put in from, I think, Piccadilly into the Sound. Abraham, is that correct?
They increased the capacity of that pipe that was going under Middle Neck Road and Piccadilly, going toward Udo Pond.
So they reached the capacity? That's what they said?
Back in 2007, I believe it was, they increased the capacity of drainage system on the county's drainage system. And we did reach out to the county, and the county was busy at the time. Brian reached out to them, and they were busy with all the issues that they had with their own drainage system. And Brian can explain it more, but they basically, the first suggestion they asked us, or the first question they asked us, was, are you looking to put more stormwater in the county's drainage system? Is that correct, Brian?
Yeah, that was the first question. They wanted to know if we were planning on increasing our capacity, which we said we don't know yet, but we want to see what you guys built there so we can provide it to our engineers, because there's no points if we increase the capacity, but they can't handle the capacity, there's no point in increasing our capacity. So we did get the as-built drawings from the county eventually, and we sent those over to H2M, so they do have those.
And also, at the time that we had the meeting, there was a suggestion that I should reach out to Freeport as well as Oceanside. I did reach out to the clerks over there. The problem that they have is totally different than the problem that we have. The problem with Great Neck is the type of the soil that we have that does not allow for water to be properly absorbed. The problem they have is the water that comes from the ocean, for example, and the problem that they have at Freeport. So the federal government is willing to help the local government if it has to do with the natural, body of water, for example, an ocean or a sound or something. But when it comes to Village of Great Neck, that we have a problem with the soil problem, I mean, we can apply, but I don't think if there is anything to do for us.
But, okay, I understand that we have the clay, but when this storm occurred and we got X amount of inches within a certain period of time, the drains themselves could not hold the water. Is that correct? Because when the water backed up and it came into the houses, and in my case, it came in all from every wall on my main floor, which has never happened in 42 years. The difference was when the drains opened, everything was sucked out of the house, back into the drain. So
There was
obviously,
no cloggage of the drain system. It was just the capacity. And the rain that we have are saying it was even worse than 100-year storm. The capacity that we have is built for maybe a 10-year storm. This storm that we had in September was something, out of proportion. It was a once in a lifetime, probably, storm. There was, there is, maybe if we were in Florida, the drainage system could be built for that amount of rain. There is nowhere in Nassau County that is equipped with that type of infrastructure that can handle so much rain in so little time. So it's not that drainage.
It wasn't that when the drains were opened, the water was sucked out. I think when the rain stopped, the water was actually able to get drained. So the drains were not blocked. I think the drains were not able to take so much water in such a short time. The issue, I think, again, we're going back and forth too much on this, but the issue was that the rain was too quick. If that amount of rain came over in, let's say, a day, the drains were able to, comfortably drain the area, but it came in less than an hour. And I think because of that, no matter what you do, even if you have a much, much bigger drain system, it was probably not going to do the job.
but
So
maybe it's the end result of where the water goes. Like, from my understanding, the water all ends up where the library is. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's what I'm understanding.
Yeah.
So that being said, isn't it possible, if that's where it ends up at the library, can't there be another location where water flows to besides that location? So all the water isn't going in that direction? Plus, the other thing is too, maybe we need to regrade some of the streets so that the water isn't coming down, like from the top of Warwick, straight down to Baker Hill Road. Because I've called even this year, the two drains around the corner of Warwick and Piccadilly, those are constantly blocked with leaves. That's Nassau County, a town in North Hempstead drains. So this is what happens. I mean, there are so many things that can occur that could cause water going only in one direction. I don't know if the drains that are there on Piccadilly and Warwick are the same drains that are in front of my house. Those are the kind of questions that we would want the engineers to give us answers to, so that there's a better understanding. How is the water flowing? And is it just coming right down the streets from Allenwood all the way down to Baker?
So Wendy, I know that the engineers did say when they were proposing this, that they were going to look at not just our village, they were going to look at basically
The town?
like the town, 100-acre area, including Kings Point, the town system also, and evaluating if the county system would be able to handle additional flow and or the other recommendations that they might make or might find. So they're not just looking at, like you were asking, are they going to look at just the village? They will be looking at everything else in the surrounding area as well.
Right. I just want to say, I was listening to everything tonight, and those townhouses that are being built with the garages that are underground, those places could flood as well. Because the people who have the garages here in this area that were built going down, all of them, they had 7-8 feet of water in their basements. So that's why the other person who was talking said, maybe take a good look to make sure that you're not going to have a water problem in
Yes.
those townhouses as well.
Yeah, and
I
I'm sure that
forgot
they
your
would
name. Could
find
you just
both.
repeat your name? I'm sorry, ma'am. Could you repeat your name?
Wendy Tapel.
Wendy, I'm
Yes.
sorry. The property that you saw tonight, you understand is in a very, very different topographical area.
No, I'm not saying that I'm right or wrong. I'm just saying maybe that should be considered as well.
And that the sunken garage is sunken, he said, less than a story. And when they're being built now, they're all being built with adequate drainage, dry wells, and they would not be allowed to be built if there was not adequate drainage in the soil over there, right? If it's clay, they're not going to be able to. I'm sorry. Being distracted.
Okay.
If there's clay in the area and not drainable soil, then obviously that wouldn't work in that area. But that is not, more of a wetlands area like Baker Hill is.
But even in Baker Hill here on Baker Hill Road, a lot of the driveways, they have the grid where underneath, I guess, dry wells were put in or something, so the water goes down in the driveways. When I walked around after the storm, a lot of those grids are completely blocked. There's dirt, there's leaves, there's things growing in them. Shouldn't there also be part of the codes for the village that people who have that in their driveways, that they should be cleaned so water doesn't go into the streets and is captured?
I think this is, I don't want to cut this short, but you have to also realize when it starts raining in that amount, if you have leaves anywhere within a few blocks away, the leaves get washed off and will block those drains. It's just the way it works. You can't go ahead and start fining people because there are leaves on the drains. That's
Not
what
leaves on the drains. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we did an investigation and there were, for those homes that have that, I'm just saying that it's not on top. It's underneath the grids. One of my neighbors across the street, she didn't realize all her drains were complete. She hasn't cleaned them. So when we had the storm, they all had to clean them thereafter. So moving forward, even with a regular rain, she won't get any water in her garage anymore. There are things that people just could be doing as suggestions so that it makes it easier for them and better for us.
The gutters, right? The gutters and the drains need to be cleaned. Okay, well, listen, as far as going back to this, from what I'm hearing, the board is in agreement with passing the $30,000 infrastructure for them to check for the infrastructure, and you would like to await the $5,000 or do it simultaneously?
I say do it.
I say do it because it might be a viable alternative for some homeowners, not all, but some people are interested in doing it. And in that particular area, I think, as the mayor had mentioned months ago, that could be a very good option.
Okay, so
But I think we have to have the understanding that it could be that even though we spend the money, that a viable solution does not present itself. I mean, it could be.
I hope that's not the case, but you're right.
Right.
I mean, we are trying, as I said, we are cautiously optimistic, but we'll see. I'm hoping that they come up with something. Maybe they find something underground that we can connect to, and then all of a sudden it gets back to the other side. I don't know. All right. Anybody would like to make the motion to accept this proposal?
I so move.
Second.
I'll second.
It's moved and second. I'm sorry. I believe it's moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 It's unanimous. The next item is the appointment of grievance state committee. The Board of Assessment Review will meet on February 15th from 4 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. The board can meet people in person or virtually. If you would like to meet either in person or virtually, please make an appointment before coming to the Village Hall or before you logging in. The people that are proposed to be on the BAR or the Board of Assessment Review are Mr. Morris Lavi, Mr. Michael Goldman, and our own deputy clerk Brian Rivera, with Deputy Mayor Bart Sobel as the alternate.
I'll move it.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. It's unanimous. The next item is a request by Mr. Massaro to declare a surplus of equipment in a DPW. The specific equipment that we are talking about is a sweeper that has been replaced. I'm going to put it on the, here is a resolution to declare the sweeper as a surplus so the village can sell it. We have done it before. We did a similar thing for a few of the other pieces of equipment that we had. Steve, what was the name of that website that we sold it on?
Municipid.
It was Municipid.
Exactly, Municipid, that it was sold. And it actually, one of the, I just want to mention that Steve was very involved with it, as well as Louis. And when they put it up, three out of the 4 equipment that was put on the website were sold. One of them was the old parking enforcement Ford that did not reach the minimum that we required. So Mr. Massaro put that also on his request, but I didn't put it here because the board already declared that equipment as a surplus. So what you see in front of you is only the sweeper. However, the request is to put both pieces of equipment up for sale once the board agrees that they are surplus. You could see the, Mayor somehow was kicked out, sorry.
Abraham, actually 4 out of the 5 vehicles sold that we posted.
Did we listed 5 equipments or
Yeah,
4?
5.
5, okay, I'm sorry. Just remember that one, which was the car was not sold.
That was the only one that did not, it sold and the people didn't follow.
Right, they did not pay
Yes.
for it, and therefore they did not deliver it.
Sorry, I lost you. I don't know what happened with the previous. It got voted?
No.
No?
Was it noted? What?
Did we vote on?
No, I was just explaining to the board and the public that out of the 5 equipments that we put, 4 was sold. One of them was another piece of equipment, which was the parking enforcement car that did not sold. And now, Mr. Massaro.
About the $35,000, I got cut off.
Oh, yes, that was approved, Mayor.
It was approved, okay. Okay, I'm trying to get back and I lost my internet for a few seconds, so I'm just getting back in. Are we in a?
Your item G. For declaration of surplus on equipment that Louis has requested. Louis, do you have anything to add to this?
No, I don't have anything to add to it.
Any questions?
Sweeper itself is a running machine. Is a body. The hopper needs to be replaced. I don't know what kind of numbers you're going to get on that thing, but either way, we got to get rid of it.
Okay.
Is there any question on this item?
Nope.
Is there a motion to declare the sweeper S-10 2005 Sterling piece of equipment a surplus, so it would be available for sale?
I'll move it.
It's moved and seconded I believe I heard two of the trustees say it. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, it's unanimous. The next item is a proposal.
They have to decide how and who is going to get rid of it, what method they're going to get rid of it.
I
Same
think
way
we
we
use the same method we used before.
I believe that was municipal.
Yes.
Okay. Louis, it will be on municipal. That's what the board want.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that they understood that they had to make the determination on how it was going to be dealt with.
Thank you. The next item is a proposal to purchase IT devices for the village hall. As you know, there are a couple of employees that are starting. One of them in very soon in the building department, and also there are other employees devices that have depleted. They worked their life. It's already been 5 years since they've been replaced, as well as the laptops that are being, well, the tablets that are being used by the board. I've heard from the mayor itself and also from a couple other members of the trustees that their tablets, they keep shutting down and they do not charge properly. I spoke to our IT provider. They gave us 3 options. What I would suggest is maybe you want to just approve the amount that how much you want to spend on it. And then I have requested prices also from Lenovo. I was pushing them to give me the prices, but unfortunately they sent it to their another department for approval. It's not going to be back to they're not going to report back to me till tomorrow. So I do not have that quote with me. However, what's available for now, I can just show it online. If you just give me one moment, I'll pull it up.
And we did get a grant that we can use for these, correct?
So we have, the village is in receipt of American Rescue Plan. Part of that money can be used to pay for infrastructure. So that is the infrastructure, but by IT infrastructure. So yes, we could use that money to pay for it. I'm just, okay, okay, here it is. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen in just a moment. These are, I'm going to show you 3 different models that they have, but if you please look at it just as a concept, not as specific devices, because the IT department that we use also, they said they might be coming up with more ideas for us. The other issue that we have is because of the what's going on in the market right now, we have to choose some models that are available to be shipped. Otherwise, it might not be available for a few months before we get it. One of them that it was recommended by the IT consultant is the Lenovo 15.6 inches, as you could see in front of you. The price is about $900. The other one was recommended is.
And does that one have a touch screen?
All of them are touch screen. So what I requested for them to recommend to us is all of them has to have cameras, all of them has to have touch screen, all of them has to be a minimum of 15 inches, although this one that you could see is only 13 inches. They recommended that all of them should have a 8 GB of memory, 256 GB of hard drive. All of them has to be a solid state. And there's certain Wi-Fi capability that the ones that I'm going to show you, all of them conform with that one. So this one, as you can see, is a Surface laptop. What you're using currently is a Surface tablet that you're using. This is a little more pricey. And the last one I'm going to show you is a model that it's by Lenovo again. This is something that actually it's a 2-in-1. It's basically a laptop, or it could be turned into a This is a laptop mode of it, and then you could actually turn it around and it becomes like a tablet. So at least for the board members that they use it for joining the meetings and seeing the meetings, this might be a good option. However, for employees that they use it for the duration that they are in the office, it's more correct, a more durable Lenovo or more durable Microsoft, it would be a better option. Again, what I would request and suggest is that maybe the board can just approve the amount that they want to spend on each device. And then when we get the final recommendations from the IT as well as the quote from the Lenovo, we could basically, go to the up to the amount that the trustees and the board will approve.
I like the yoga idea for the board, but that's not the price. That it has to be configured.
It is actually up to the configuration that we need. As you could see, this is already 14 inches. If you look at the specs.
No, but go up a little bit more. No. Okay, stop. See, there's a 15-inch.
There's a 15-inch of it, yes.
Okay.
There's a
I think
14.
there's something that they talk about the 9i instead of the 9 or a 9 or 7i. I think that from what I remember, my IT person says that you should get a 9i. I don't know what are.
I is basically for Intel. So
Right.
Like various, I believe they have various generations. What they i5, i5 is what the IT recommended.
No, could you go up a little bit? One more row. No. Okay. No. I'm sorry. Go. Right. So the Yoga 7i 15-inch in the middle.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at the specs, this is a 15.6. If you look at the specs here, it is a Windows 11 Pro, 11th generation Intel i7. This is not i5. i7, right. This one has more memory that we had the recommendation. Recommendation was 8 GB. This one is actually 16 GB. So the speed is twice as much. And the storage, the recommendations was 256, and this is 1 terabyte.
That's overkill. But
4 times what
But the thing is, if the price is actually equal or less,
it's $200 more than it's more because of the size of the screen.
I thought the other one was also about $800 something, right?
The other one was 7.
No, I'm not talking about
The
Lenovo.
Mayor, if you look at it, for this one is $750, the other one is $950. But if you look at just a $200 over 5 years of usage, if it can,
I don't think it matters.
Right.
I think getting it, you can just go up. I think. What do you think? Forget about the board. As far as people that are coming to the building department and else in the office, which one of it is that the IT person recommends?
something more durable with larger screen, something like maybe a 15.6. But again, as Deputy Mayor mentioned, it has to be configured. So if we can just get a price of how much the board would like to spend, and then we go and shop for that amount, up to that amount.
Can we say up to $1,000? Because I didn't see anything that is more, unless you want to go with the one that you showed before that was $1,200, this one, Microsoft. But this is 13 inches. So I think, why are we going with this if we can go with the Lenovo 15 inches for less?
The other option that we could look at is maybe a 15-inch, and it comes with a dock that it actually can just sit on, and then it will be connected to a separate monitor. So instantly it would give the employees 2 monitors instantly. So it could basically, bring it in or take it home with you. Or if, for example, if one of the building inspectors, they can just come to the office, put it on a docking station and have 2 screens in front of them, work on it. And then if they have to go to field, they can just take it with them to the field as well. So that's an option also.
So I think we can say up to $1,000. That should do it. Is that okay, Abraham? You think $1,200 will do it or no? Up to.
I think that's plenty. I think it's plenty.
It's plenty.
It's plenty. I don't know if he's talking about the docking station, if that's going to cost and how much, but I think if we say up to 1,200, I think that should pretty much cover everything. I don't think the board doesn't need the $1,200 one, but the board can use the yoga, whatever that was.
The smaller one, yeah.
Right. That's enough for the board, then 14 or 15 inches. Regardless, these are going to be less than 1,000, and the other one's probably going to be less than 1,200. So we can say up to 1,000, up to 1,200, or up to whatever it is, and then decide and see which one's actually going to make more sense. Is the board okay with 1,000 or 1,200?
Yeah, I would say go to 1,200 because you don't know what extra configuration.
I think we should go with 1,200 and let Abraham and IT people decide. I don't think they.
Yeah, do a good job on them and knock the price down.
Right. Okay. Anybody would like to make the motion for?
How many do we need? So we need 5 for the board, and then we're having probably we have to replace 3 in the building department as well as the 2 new employees that they will come. So we need a total of 10.
Okay, I'll approve the 10.
I approve. Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. It's approved for 10 devices for up to 1,200 each. The next item on the agenda are the minutes. There are 2 sets of minutes. The first one is for 12/21/21. I'll put it on the screen in a moment.
I reviewed them, so I'll move them. I'll give the rest of the board time if they need.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 It's unanimous. The last item is the abstract for this Friday, January 20.
There's another set of minutes, or is that both?
This is just the first one, and then I just mentioned both of them at the same time. So
Okay.
I thought we're voting for both of them.
Okay.
The last item, by the way, incidentally, I was attending a NICOM class today, and they said you do not need to approve the minutes. Once you write it, it's as if it's approved. But we have the tradition of approving it, so we keep doing it. The last item is the abstract for this Friday.
I just have a question with the Michael Haberman tax
Yes.
adjustments. There were 3 entries there. What is the difference between the different 3?
So the 1,200 is monthly fee that they charge. That is for monthly questions that we have. We call them, we have a question, we have an issue with the property, we need something to be updated. That's the base price that they charge us. The 22,500 is the annual fee for assessing village-wide. They basically go out, what the technical term is trending. They trend the whole village, they see what is a trend is in the neighborhood, in the county, in the state, and basically properly assess the village. That is a once a year charge. And then the 300 that you could see is a tax cert. So the tax certs are charged on a case-by-case basis, an hourly basis. So tax certs are basically somebody takes the village to court stating that their assessment is too high, and then they try to settle it. So rather than, for example, paying $5,000 back in one shot, they basically negotiate with the applicant or with the plaintiff, and they try to settle something, or they withdraw their application to the court. So that 300 has to do with tax certs, 1,200 is a monthly fee, and the 22,500 is the annual fee for trending the assessment.
Okay, thank you. And the other question I had, so the new sweeper that is listed in this abstract is the one that is replacing the one that we're putting on Municipid? Is that it?
Mr. Massaro? Louis? If you can hear me, if you could please unmute yourself. This is the new sweeper that, yes, it should be replacing the one that the board voted to surplus it.
Okay.
Yes,
It is
that's
coming. Okay.
That's correct. That's correct. The one that you're signing off on tonight is the replacement for the one that I asked to get rid of.
All right, thank you. All right, I'll make a motion to accept the abstract.
Is there a second? It's seconded by Trustee Hope. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Hi. Hi.
Thank
I
you.
hope
It's-
this one is being actually stored in in the building. I am hoping that it's not going to be affected by the elements.
The new sweeper in the building.
Sorry?
The new sweeper is inside the building.
Great, okay.
Public comment?
If anybody has comment, go ahead. Karen, I see you first.
Dash, yes.
Hello. Okay, so I was just planning to say one thing tonight, but something else came up earlier when we were discussing the synagogue and the property across Steamboat Road. Mr. Mayor, you showed great enthusiasm for taking down that burnt out structure on Steamboat Road. And I want to give a shout out to, what's his name? Dan Shavulian, who was acting in very good faith of the community and said he would take that down tomorrow, and that you showed enthusiasm, and hopefully that demolition will go ahead because it is a dangerous building. I would like to see that same enthusiasm for the property on North Road and Middle Neck Road, Mr. Shemtov's building, which is a continuous eyesore and a danger. And here we are already in mid-January, and I brought this up before Election Day back in November. So when Mr. B put up the, I guess the codes, I was looking at the demo permits. Letter N 1D said something about when it is appropriate to remove a building, and something that said when it's a detriment to the village or a danger. So at what point can we see the village's enthusiasm to remove that building, even if it is put into like a flat, filled in piece of property? It would be a lot better than what we're seeing right now and what we have been seeing for years. So that's one thing that I wanted to say. And my second thing is, and I've been speaking to Mr. Haramis about this, we've been chatting about trees coming down. I get very upset every time I hear a chainsaw, and for some reason I hear them on Maple Street all the time. And last Thursday, the property at 35 Beach Road was taking down trees again. I did find out from Mr. Haramis that a permit was issued. The trees were not looking healthy, especially the ones that were bordering the next door neighbor's property, that they were only looking unhealthy because the property owner, who wants to subdivide the property but was not granted permission, went ahead last year and basically decapitated all the limbs off of the trees. So now Mr. Haramis went and he saw the property and the trees, and yes, they were sickly looking. But I think our village has to make a real concerted effort not to allow people to take down trees unless there is an imminent danger to a building or the safety of pedestrians or the public, or if a plan has already been accepted by the village to build something. Like on Steamboat Road by the entrance to Kings Point Park, last spring, I drove by there and I saw all these trees come down. And I thought that was the village of Kings Point. And then I found it was our village. And I don't think anything's being built there yet, but a whole forest of trees was taken down. And I really think our village has to do something to maintain the trees that we have. It's very upsetting to me. And as much as I do like that synagogue that we saw today, it's a beautiful, beautiful building. And the townhouses, I love the idea. But again, we are going to be taking down so many big trees. And, Great Neck is just this beautiful, it was a beautiful green community. And a lot of the villages in Great Neck are still beautiful and green. Ours is horrible and it pains me. So I just would like to see moving forward that we take, whether it's the building department or the trustees, that we educate people about the importance of greenery and the importance of trees. We should not be scared that they're going to fall on their houses. I mean, they do fall and it's a horrible and a scary thing, but I don't think we should be preemptively acting by removing trees for no reason. That's it for me tonight, guys. Thank you.
Aaron, if I could just touch on that, when we do allow a tree to come down, we do make sure a replanting is done.
Yeah.
In some cases, like we just had the 3 trees taken down that do look sickly at 35 Beach, and 4 trees are going to be replaced.
Right.
But the tree on Maple did not look sickly.
That's right. Yes, the tree on Maple was not.
He totally decapitated those trees. That's why they look sickly. I mean, if you were there
I mean, when I
last
go
year,
there, I didn't see them before. When I went there last week, they looked
you
terrible.
should have knocked on my door. I've got plenty of pictures that I took when he took the tops off of them last year.
Yeah. So what?
I live at
Maple.
107.
I'll come by next time.
No,
Thank you.
I took pictures just for that because he's just totally.
Yeah, I never saw any. I just went out there last week because a permit came in. What I saw, they didn't look healthy.
Because
But
he
you should know-
chopped them.
That's right. But you should understand that they didn't look unhealthy because of a microburst. Unfortunately, we have on Maple Street very dangerous trees that should come down that are skeletons of when we had our microburst about 12 years ago. This property owner actually killed off his trees in order to subsequently get a permit. So it's just, I don't know. We have to talk to people about that. And it has to be something that that's acknowledged.
At the end of the day, the 2 trees that were taken down next to the other property, they were sickly.
Yeah.
4 trees are going to be replaced.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, what about the property North Road and Middle Neck, Shem Tov's property? When can we
Right.
see that come down?
So I would like to see them come down yesterday.
I know.
One of the reasons I think that all the boards went and quickly tried to give some kind of an approval for this building to come is because we don't want to see that anymore. The problem is not the same as this building that exists on Steamboat Road, because they had started some kind of a excavation behind it. So if you go ahead and take these buildings down, you're going to have a huge hole in the back. So I don't know if that's going to actually make it safer or less safe. That I would defer to Steve to take a look. But my mission is to really try to speak to the county to see what it is that they can do to move forward with giving the approvals or whatever it is that they need to do for this to go as soon as possible.
Okay, but Mr. Mayor, if he takes it down, why can he not be made to fill it in? Because I seem to recall a few meetings back, we had somebody somewhere on a road near Kings Point where he was going to subdivide the property and he made a foundation and a hole in the ground, and then he wants his tax money back. And we were saying, we'll give you the tax money back. In fact, we were giving it back to him, but Mr. Haramis was going to make sure that that was filled in. So why is
Right.
it like?
Right. So that I don't. So the thing is, he has no plans to build. This person has plans to build. So you can't
But he
tell.
owns a property that is dangerous and an eyesore for the community. And obviously,
Listen, I think we can do it in 2 ways. Either we tell him to knock it down and fill it in, and then go ahead.
fill
and
it in.
But you
Fill
have
it
to
in.
realize one thing. The moment he does that, the bank is going to pull back.
Oh,
and
that's
not-
right. You told me that. Yes, you told me that.
So
It's just-
I can't, I understand what you, believe me, I think we all want the same thing you want. I hate those buildings. I hate the burned out building. I hate the Shem Tov's building. But the thing is, I'm not going to shoot myself in the leg.
That's true.
And then delay things even further. So
How about if you tell him to make 10 townhouses there instead? And then the community will be so happy.
Right, but find someone who wants to build townhouses there. See, I'm not the one building, neither are you. So it's very difficult to say to the developers, and this is what I tell the community in general. You want good developers, you have to produce an environment that those developers who are willing to come in and build the townhomes that we want to come. If we're making it difficult, those people who can and are willing to not do a building will not come to Great Neck. They go somewhere else. And unfortunately, that's what happened because they see a lot of negativity toward any development. So they say, you know what, we don't want to deal with Great Neck. And I tell you, it's not easy to bring businesses or development to Great Neck because people are very vocally, not everybody, but some people are very much against it. And those developers aren't really interested, or even businesses aren't interested to come in. So I hear a lot, what is it that we're doing to bring them? We engage them. I engage them. But the problem is, I hear a lot of no's. And the reason they give us a lot of no's is because many people are going against every development, every business that wants to come in, that wants to do some kind of, it's going to create traffic, people are against it. So I think it has to be both ways. I think people need to realize the importance of changing these areas. And the only way is to bring in people who are willing to do it. Also, we shouldn't lose grade A developers. We shouldn't, but unfortunately we are.
But we shouldn't overdevelop. And also like on Forest Row, I don't know what's happening on Forest Road. Like those houses went with that street and that's been years and it's abandoned. Again, that would have been beautiful for townhouses. Nobody would have objected to that. I think a lot of people would embrace
They're
a
putting
lot.
homes, which is less dense than townhomes. I mean, they could have done townhomes, but it just doesn't go with the flow of having houses and all of a sudden having a bunch of townhouses in the middle of a very residential area. And that wasn't, again, that wasn't the zoning. The zoning was not for town. So they used whatever that was and they're putting houses in there. Listen, and they are developing. It's not like they're not doing anything. They are working on it.
They are working on it now?
Yes, all
Again?
permits were issued.
Built already.
Mayor, I just want to let you know also too, they put the binder course down on the road this past week.
Nice. Thank you. I will check that out.
Louis, I didn't hear you.
They put the binder course on the roadway for Green Terrace last week.
Okay, very good. By the way, what's going on with the school with that circular thing? Did they put the barrels? Are they using it?
They haven't used them. They're still sitting on the center median there.
Mayor, they have an issue with who's gonna put them out. Some of the employees that they asked for them to put it out are part of a union and they're not gonna do it. So unfortunately, just sitting there as Louis just mentioned.
Isn't that we had the whole meeting and they said that we provide them the barrels, they're going to put it.
Yeah, they went out and they asked their staff, I don't know what type of staff, and the union told them not to do it. So unfortunately, sitting there.
It's very sad. It's very sad that they don't care about the safety of and I think that's probably something that needs to be sent. I'm hoping that the BOE hears this. They really need to take an action. They are the ones who asked for a meeting. They are the ones who asked us to help them. We came up with a plan and provided them the barrels, and they are the ones who said they're going to put it. I mean, I don't know what else we can do.
Mr. Mayor, from what I understand, because I mean, I was not aware of this, but last week on the Moms and Dads website on Facebook, there was something like some big hullabaloo was happening with the traffic in front of the school and the way the employees were being treated by the parents dropping off the children. And so I'm not surprised, you know, because I did work in schools, I'm not surprised if you have just, you know, basically what they have is these security officers that are not much more paid than a minimum wage worker put outside to direct traffic. And they're really not trained for that. And then they are confronted with parents and kids dropping off. It's a very dangerous and volatile situation. It really is dangerous and volatile.
What I asked them to do, and they did, I asked them to have a drone flying above that area for about 45 minutes to see the exact traffic and we actually viewed the traffic. We saw how the traffic is. Based on that, we came up with a solution of putting barrels so the cars are not going to go around the circular, the median. The problem is they asked us to provide them with the barrels, and the security guards were going to just put it out, which takes literally 5 minutes. They leave it for an hour and they take it back. That's what they were supposed to do. If the unions are not allowing them to do that, then the unions don't care about the well-being of the children, and I'm really upset about it.
No, well, first of all, I would speak to, because I don't know, I'm just conjecturing like probably you are, but I could imagine they don't just put the barrels out. They do have security personnel outside of the middle school and the high school. There are employees outside, and they are taking a lot of abuse from parents. Like if there's a barrel there and a parent is upset about it, it's going to be directed to the school employee. So I maybe reach out to the principal of the school, because
Meeting with the principal of the school.
after the fact that they're not putting the
Before
barrels
the
out.
fact. No, before, we had the meeting, we came up with the solution, and we gave them the barrels.
Okay.
And Abraham, was there any conversation that was initiated by them after the barrels were given by the school principal? Abraham?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
I have been in contact through email. I asked them, just let us know when you want to put it out. So we put it on our website as soon as we're going to announce it. And I have not heard back. What last I heard was through a conversation, as I mentioned before, that they had some issues with the employees.
Can you send them an email and CC me on it? Because I need to know exactly what is it that they are going to do. I definitely, this was a safety issue.
Yes.
I'll send an email right.
Hope that they really carry through this safety issue and not just let it continue.
And please, Mayor Brawl, don't think for 1 minute there is a single person in the school district that does not care about the safety of our students.
I know, it's not, caring alone
It's
is
not
not.
a union, it's not the teachers, it's not the custodians or
It's
anybody.
not.
We
Karen,
all care greatly for the
caring
kids.
enough, I tell you, in my business, caring alone is not enough. You can care.
We do.
You take some actions. We took the actions necessary, and I'm hoping that if they can't do that, they need to reach out and find out what the solution is. But we did what we decided, the two of us, the school and the village. They asked for barrels, they asked for the study, we did the whole thing, we gave them direction. We said we are okay with that proposal to move forward. To drop the ball is not the right thing to do. We did our part. I was hoping they do theirs. And if they're not, at least they should reach out and say why they're not doing it. Just
I agree with that. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Abraham, if you can just please make sure that the email goes out tomorrow, and hopefully we get a response from them, because this is to me, it's unacceptable. In that area.
Right now,
after seeing the drone images, see how the kids are running between the cars and how cars are trying to make turns.
Terrible.
That area is dangerous, and this should not be accepted by anybody, especially, and I'm hoping that the principal is aware. He may not be aware. I hope the principal is aware and makes a suggestion as soon as possible.
Sure.
Thank you.
I have a question. I don't know if you guys have an answer, but so going back to 35 Beach, he's going to court or whatever, appeal to court, and he's supposed to get a decision February 1st. What happens with that? Is that you guys denied him putting a second house on that property? What happens if they give him the permission to put a second house up there, or do they give him permission and then he just gets carte blanche, or what happens with that? Out of curiosity.
Peter, he's going to court to appeal the decision of the BZA for the subdivision.
Yeah.
Planning board.
No, it was the BZA that did not approve him.
Yes.
Peter?
When a BZA makes a determination denying an application, the applicant can institute what's known as an Article 78 proceeding, and they take it to the Supreme Court, and the burden of proof is on the applicant to show that there was nothing in the record that justified that decision and that the decision was arbitrary and capricious. It's a fairly high standard to meet. If the judge feels that they did meet it and concludes that the action of the BZA was unreasonable, arbitrary, capricious, and lacked any basis in the record, again, a high standard, then the judge could typically remand it back to the board and say, you've got to put evidence in the record that would justify this decision one way or the other, although the court alternatively might direct that the ZBA grant the application. So it depends on what the judge does. And by the way, if the judge makes a decision that we feel is not consistent with the law, the village has the right to appeal back. So you have to wait and see what the judge does.
Okay, no, just because that goes along with the trees that he took down, because the trees he took down is where the second house goes. The pruning of the pine trees on Beach is sort of where equipment would end up going in. I'm not really quite sure why he took down the tree on Maple. Because Steve, I have pictures from when the tree on Beach Road fell down on the Bartolonis' house, and the trees in the back were green and looked great before he touched this stuff. So,
Mayor,
so he's like,
Mayor Peter, the village wasn't served with any papers in terms of any proceedings against the village in this regard, as far as I'm aware of. Peter, you're on mute.
I was just describing. Am I up now?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just describing the process. For any decision of the ZBA, it can be reviewed by the Supreme Court judge. The standard is arbitrary and capricious, and the village has the right to appeal if the judge does the wrong thing.
All right. The other thing is, I think there was a similar issue from what I've heard, that there was another property that asked for subdivision and for the same reasons were denied, or was denied, I should say. So I don't know what this individual would like to do, but you know what? It's the land of suing and counter suing. So let's just okay.
Thank you.
See a tree coming down, you know, when someone is actually taking it down and you think.
Called. I called and was told that he was given permits. So
you were told what?
That he was given the permits to cut them down, which I guess are the permission that Steve had given him to take down those trees.
No. This time, yes, but was it given the first time when he chopped?
No, it was not.
When he decapitated the tops, probably not, but I didn't know any better at that point.
I think at that time, I don't think the village code allows decapitating the top of the tree.
No, it doesn't, but I didn't know any better to call.
All right. So we all live and learn. And I think, I tell you,
I mean,
one of the saddest things to see is, again, one of the saddest things to see these beautiful.
Those trees have been there for 60 years because Ernie put them there. So the guy the Bartolonis he was a landscaper. I mean, those trees looked fine before this guy started messing with them. Even the tree in the back right now that's in the back, I don't know what it's going to look like when the leaves come in because,
Okay. All right. Any other comments? No, I don't see anybody else on the thing. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Great day. Have a great night. And please be careful.
Thanks.